After dying in childbirth, I was reborn back to the day Jiang Yuhing proposed to me. Shushya, someone was blind enough to turn me down. How about you? And I tie the knot. In my past life, I accepted with all my heart, overjoyed. After marriage, he treated me with utmost restraint and propriety. Upon learning that my sister was being abused by that scumbag, Jiang Yuhing lost control and rammed his car into the man, leaving him permanently disabled. When I was 7 months pregnant, I found my sister and Jiang Yuhing lost in a passionate kiss on the bed. In the end, I was overcome with rage and grief, which led to a difficult labor and my death. This time, I simply shook my head politely. I have a boyfriend. 1. My sister and the crown prince of the Beijing social scene are sworn enemies. They've been at each other's throats since kindergarten. He goes through relationships like changing clothes, and she tirelessly sabotages them one after another. Her career in the entertainment industry was soaring, so he paid for smear campaigns to plant damaging stories. They had been at each other's throats for half a lifetime, until their parents proposed a marriage alliance between the families. In a fit of anger, the elder sister eloped in a flash marriage. Jiang Yuhing raised an eyebrow and looked at me. Shushya, since someone lacks the taste to want me, how about you and I get married? To everyone's surprise, I shook my head. I have a boyfriend. The words hung in the air, met by a stunned silence. No one believed it. The reason was simple. Everyone knew I had been secretly in love with Jiang Yuhing for 15 years, including Jiang Yuhing. In my past life, when I found out I could marry him, I was so overjoyed I couldn't sleep for a day and a night. I handled everything personally, from choosing the wedding dress to finalizing the venue. I was even meticulously careful when drafting the invitations. Afraid he might be upset if he saw my sister at the wedding, but he was still unhappy, because my sister didn't come. She was on her honeymoon. Jiang Yuhing was dead drunk. He kissed me with a desperate, biting ferocity, as if he wanted to devour me whole. Just before I blacked out, I saw a single hot tear roll down his cheek. His voice, muffled and forlorn like a discarded puppy, whispered by my ear, "Happy wedding." Back then, I didn't understand why he was crying. Thinking about it now, that probably wasn't meant for me. Shushya, I can let your older sister's nonsense slide, but why are you copying her? Mom's voice held a note of reproach. You really mustn't say things like that anymore. I sighed with a touch of helplessness and pulled out the photo. I handed it over. It's true, we've been together for a while. I was planning to introduce you all a bit later, but I guess I have to tell you now. Mom was taken aback and hesitantly asked for details. I answered fluently and without hesitation. The conditions were favorable in every aspect. A profound silence fell over the room, a sharp tap, the sound of a fingertip striking the desk. I looked over. My gaze met a pair of dark, inscrutable eyes. Jiang Yuhing still wore his usual air of careless arrogance, but the warmth in his smile had faded, replaced by a distinct chill. It wasn't hard to understand. Having been publicly slighted twice, his displeasure was only to be expected. I bowed with a hint of apology, neither subservient nor arrogant. I'm truly sorry, Brother Yuhing, but I believe we all must be responsible for those we love. May we both get what we wish for. Jiang Yuhing didn't look away, his gaze filled with keen interest. He suddenly let out a laugh, but his tone turned cold. Well said, little sister, I'll take that as a blessing. His words made my heart skip a beat. He only calls me that when he's teasing me. I didn't dwell on the reason. Nor did I watch him walk away. Yes, you will, Jiang Yuhing, you will get your wish. 2. The private investigator sent a message. It was a few photographs. When I opened them, I saw images of a man escorting a young model in and out of a hotel, kissing in a car, and even more explicit scenes. In her past life, my sister discovered his infidelity in the 2nd year of their marriage. She was always passionate and proud, and could not bear such a betrayal. After a huge confrontation, the man, in a fit of rage and humiliation, broke her nose. My sister cherished her beauty above all else, and this obsession cast a shadow over her entire life. Upon learning of it, Jiang Yuhing, disregarding his own status and the repercussions for his family, personally drove a car and crippled the man, sending shockwaves through the entire social circle. The fragile facade of the model couple was shattered by his own hands, and in an instant, a barrage of mocking, scornful gazes were directed at me. I struggled to maintain my composure and offer an explanation. That day, they finally saw the truth in their own hearts. As for me, I received the prenatal checkup results. My hand rested on my flat stomach, a dull ache throbbing beneath. My phone buzzed. Sent to Ms. Meng's email. My expression turned serious. Send another copy to this email address. this is Jiang Yuhing's private email. In this lifetime, you won't have to miss each other for so many years again. My sister is back home. Just like in her past life, she divorced that man, but surprisingly, there was no dramatic scene of them slapping each other, and she certainly didn't get her nose broken. Instead, she hired a top-tier lawyer, submitted the evidence of his infidelity to the court, pulled a few strings, and in the end, the court ruled that the man would leave with nothing. She sat on the sofa, her dark hair and red lips a perfect match to the person in my memory. Like a vibrant rose, she radiated a bright, unapologetic confidence. Mom, Dad, I've made up my mind, I'm going to marry Jiang Yuhing. Her words were firm and resolute. My heart gave a violent jolt. The moment our eyes met, the realization hit me with a jolt. She had been reborn. 2, 3, this is preposterous. Just yesterday you turned them down, and to make amends, we even conceded a plot of land we had our eye on. What on earth is the meaning of this now? Father's face was stern. She stuck out her tongue playfully. If I marry into that family, Jiang Yuhing will have to give us whatever we want. What's a measly piece of land to him? I also know you've had your eye on Uncle Zhang's inkstone for ages. If I win, I'll give it to you. How about that? Her parents were skeptical, only I knew she was bound to win. Jiang Yuhing loved her to the marrow of his bones, wishing he could lay his very heart at her feet. I suddenly felt a wave of listlessness. Although in this life, I tried my utmost to avoid any contact with Jiang Yuhing, news of him still reached my ears in an unrelenting tide. My sister launched a full-blown, no-holds-barred campaign to win Jiang Yuhing's heart. She rented out every digital billboard in the city, flooding them with declarations of love during the morning and evening rush hours. Shedding her previously combative attitude, she transformed into the picture of domestic care, delivering a homemade love lunch to the Jiang Corporation building every single day. After a night of client entertaining, she handed him a cup of honey water garnished with a fresh mint leaf. He agreed. I couldn't help but feel dazed. In my past life, Jiang Yuhing had a weak stomach. Every time he drank, he would suffer for quite a while. I learned to make medicinal meals to nourish the stomach. I tried many things, and found that adding mint leaves to his honey water would ease the deep furrow in his brow. So that's it. This is where it all began. A faint, bittersweet ache welled up uncontrollably in my heart. It vanished as quickly as it came, leaving not a single trace behind. Everyone in the Beijing social circle praised Meng Zhitong for her prowess, having tamed the most dazzling playboy. The Jiang and Meng families joined forces in a powerful alliance. Engagement announcements were sent to every established family and rising star within their social circle. Marrying the one you love feels like winning a glorious, hard-fought battle. You want to shout it from the rooftops, for the whole world to know, but I have no time to dwell on that. I'm busy with my own affairs. SJ, please review the earnings for this quarter. A substantial figure came through, and I allowed myself a small, satisfied smile. I typed out a few words. Excellent. After a moment's thought, he asked again, so, what would you like as a reward? On the day of the engagement party, the venue was filled with guests. The attendees were mostly distinguished figures, luminaries from various fields and prominent media outlets. I sat in the corner with a glass in hand, watching the two of them standing side by side from a distance that was neither too close nor too far. The man was dignified and aloof, while the woman was radiant and vibrant. They really were a perfect match. I quietly made my judgment in my heart. Suddenly, he tilted his head slightly. A pair of unfathomably deep eyes met mine directly, tinged with a faint indifference. Jiang Yuhing possessed a pair of beautiful, soulful eyes that were almost intoxicating, yet when he wasn't smiling, they held an inexplicable, chilling coldness. My heart gave a violent thump. In my fluster, I lowered my head and took a hasty gulp of wine to hide my face. It burned. So much so that it brought tears to my eyes. When I looked up again, that intense, pressing gaze was gone. Jiang Yuhing held his sister by the waist, whispering something that made her playfully pout and give his chest a light punch. He broke into a smile. His gaze was filled with tenderness and adoration. In a word, it was an expression I had never seen before. Mom called out to me, Shushya, come here. It's been ages since you've seen your Aunt Jiang, hasn't it? I smiled politely. Aunt Jiang. It's been years, and Shushya has grown into such a beautiful young woman, Aunt Jiang said, her face beaming with an irrepressible smile. I remember when you were little, you were always following Yuhing around calling him big brother. Everyone used to tease me, asking when I'd given him a little sister. There's one more thing, she's probably the Jiang family's child bride. As if realizing the inappropriateness, the atmosphere grew tense. I've thought of a more tactful way to put it. I smiled sweetly. Now that you're marrying brother Yuheng, he'll be my brother-in-law. It's like I've gained another brother. Our families are even closer now. As soon as I said that, the atmosphere instantly warmed up, but I could feel a scorching gaze fixed on my back. I couldn't understand why he was upset, couldn't be bothered to think about it. The nervousness hidden within habit was impossible to suppress. Took small, slow sips of the wine. The more I look at you, Xia, the more familiar and dear you seem, Aunt Jiang began. I have a nephew who just returned from studying in the UK. He's a very handsome and accomplished young man. I should introduce you to sometime. I was just about to refuse when Jiang Yuheng, who had been silent for a long time, spoke up. He has a love child, 5. I looked over in his direction. His eyes were smiling, yet his true feelings were impossible to discern. His slender fingers tapped restlessly against the side of the cup, betraying the agitation in his heart. It was a gesture he often made. Aunt Jiang stiffened slightly, unfazed. She dove right back into her matchmaking with gusto. I also have a nephew who's a lawyer. He's 6'2", with an 8-pack abs. Just the type you young ladies like. Jiang Yuheng chuckled. Guys like it too. All eyes turned to look. He raised an eyebrow lazily. He likes men. Aunt Jiang wasn't ready to give up. There's also, Xia is still young. There's no need to discuss marriage arrangements for her. Jiang Yuheng's voice was calm, yet it carried an undeniable, unspoken finality. Each word landed with a heavy thud in my heart. My heart clenched slightly, and my fingers unconsciously picked at the side of the cup. Young Master Jiang, you haven't even married me yet, and you're already acting like my brother-in-law. Xia, don't listen to him. I'll find you someone better, Meng Jitong said with a playful, coquettish tone. Jiang Yuheng paused, a soft smile touching his lips as his expression gentled. My mistake, I wouldn't dare get ahead of you. It was all because of my sister. Jiang Yuheng is fiercely protective of his own. Even though he doesn't love me, he still grants me the dignity of being Mrs. Jiang, maintaining the facade of a model couple, let alone when it's his beloved's own sister. I must be drunk. That would explain these unrealistic fantasies. I breathed a sigh of relief. A damp liquid stained my fingertips. My nails were filed too thin. I could snap one off at any moment without even noticing. I smiled politely. Thank you, Auntie Jiang. However, I already have a boyfriend, and we're doing quite well. I'll be sure to bring him over to visit another day. I need to step away for a moment. I didn't notice that after I left, I had picked up a tail. 6. The summer night carried a chill. A gust of wind cleared my head a little. I absolutely cannot make the same mistake again. The phone buzzed with a sudden vibration. I opened it. It was a message from that person. SJ. I've decided what I want. My curiosity was piqued. I slowly typed out a line. Go ahead, tell me. If it's within my power, I'll do it. The next second, a cool voice came from behind me. Meng Xia, care to explain? Jiang Yuheng had arrived at some point. Leaning lazily against the doorframe, he seemed to have had quite a bit to drink. Even from a distance, the crisp scent of liquor mingled with his cologne was noticeable. It was rare to see him so unguarded. Perhaps he was just too overjoyed. I don't quite understand, brother-in-law. What are you saying? Suddenly, the corner of his mouth twitched. You said you liked me a month ago, then turned around and told people you had a boyfriend you'd been dating for a month. Jiang Yuheng's smile held a strangely fierce edge. Who would believe that? Any lingering effects of the alcohol were completely washed away by that statement. The timing of my rebirth was truly unfortunate. I had kept my feelings hidden for 15 long years, only to confess that very day, and then be reborn the very next. I carefully considered his intentions. Lowering my gaze, I spoke frankly. I was young and foolish back then, unable to tell the difference between dependence and affection. I recklessly confessed. It wasn't until I met him later that I truly understood. I'm sorry, brother Yuheng. Congratulations on your engagement to your sister. As soon as the words were spoken, a delicate, indignant huff sounded from not far away. See, Jiang Yuheng, you're so paranoid. You had to ask Xia again. You know she's been shy since she was little. 7. Meng Jitong walked over in a red dress. Radiant as the sun, wherever she went, she instantly became the center of attention. My face paled, and my fingers tightened around the wine glass. I quickly composed myself, and a sense of clarity washed over me. Right, they've come so far to get to where they are today. If I were to get jealous and lose my mind, or worse, do something to hurt my sister over a man, Jiang Yuheng couldn't afford to take that risk. Xia, Yuheng didn't mean it. He just has a sharp tongue. Don't take it to heart, Meng Jitong. a rare blush coloring her cheeks. Shot him a coquettish glare before coming over to console me. I thought I would be consumed by jealousy or resentment upon seeing their intimate gestures, but there was nothing, only a faint weariness remained. The rest was a deep calm. In this life, I refused to be the spice in their relationship any longer. I said flatly, congratulations on your engagement, sis. The phone rang abruptly, seeing the name flashing on the screen. A wave of relief washed over me. I didn't shy away, I answered. My voice soft, AG, the air suddenly fell silent, making the voice on the other end of the line all the more distinct. A cool, clear voice, indescribably pleasant, said, I want a proper title. I gave a faint smile, with a gentleness I hadn't even realized was on my face. I said, 9 o'clock, the day after tomorrow, be on time. After hanging up the phone, I smiled at Meng Jitong. I'll introduce you to my boyfriend the day after tomorrow. I deliberately ignored those deep, penetrating eyes. With that, I walked past them and left. The moment I stepped off the terrace, the sound of a shattering glass rang out. There was also my sister's low gasp of surprise. 8. The next day, I arranged to meet Shinji. To make a good impression on my parents, he needed to get himself some proper clothes. Perhaps it was my pride, but I didn't want him to lose to Jiang Yuheng, even though I no longer loved him. A tall, slender figure came into view, striding toward me. His voice was like a babbling brook, clear and mellifluous. Miss Juixia. I lied to them. My relationship with Shinji wasn't exactly honorable. On the second day of my rebirth, I found Shinji keeping vigil outside the ICU. The boy stood against the light, half his face shrouded in shadow. His eyelids were thin, and when he lifted them to look at someone, there was a detached, almost pitying indifference in his gaze, like a piece of warm jade that still held a cold gleam. This wasn't the first time I had seen him. In my past life, I had seen him once when I attended an important group event as Mrs. Jiang, a graduate with no background. He had secured the position of vice president at Jiang Corporation within 2 years, serving as Jiang Yuheng's pawn to counterbalance the old foxes on the board of shareholders. He didn't just hold his ground, he systematically dismantled the board of directors without a drop of blood being shed. He secured Jiang Yuheng's absolute control over the company, ruthless in execution, yet fiercely loyal. He's exactly the kind of person I need. Shinji was an orphan, his only tie to the world being his gravely ill grandmother. I advanced the surgery fees and bluntly proposed a sponsorship arrangement. A flicker of surprise passed through Shinji's eyes, but he was always one to seize any opportunity. His tone remained unreadable as he said, fine. I wasn't radiant like my sister. I love carving. I'm particularly fond of carving uncut jade. Shinji is very tall, so you have to look up slightly to meet his eyes, so he lowered his head of his own accord, like a puppy submitting to its master. Something came up at school, so I'm a bit late. I couldn't help but give him a pat. It's fine. 9. Shinji has a great natural build. He looks good in every single outfit he tries on. I bought them all without a second thought. The last one was a business-style suit. The cut was excellent, accentuating his well-defined muscles and making him look even taller and more long-limbed. Shinji is the type who looks lean in clothes but is actually quite muscular underneath. On the first night I settled him into the city penthouse, I pushed open the bedroom door. What greeted me was a pair of well-defined pectoral muscles, fresh out of the shower. A towel was loosely tied around his waist, his hair was still damp. A droplet of water fell with a soft plink onto his collarbone, then trailed down over his firm, full chest and lean waist, finally disappearing from view. Yet, his face held a cool, detached expression as he asked me, utterly unruffled, are we using protection? I was taken aback for a moment, but quickly gathered my wits. My face flushed bright red in an instant. I fumbled for words for a good while, explaining that wasn't my intention at all. Miss Juixia, what's on your mind? Shinji raised an eyebrow slightly. I snapped back to reality belatedly, only to feel my cheeks burning with a blush. I covered my embarrassment with a cough and casually picked up a navy blue tie, just wondering which one would go better. He bent down naturally, the pad of my finger brushed against his skin, cool to the touch. I deftly tied the necktie. In my past life, after marrying Jiang Yuheng, our communication was pitifully scarce. Apart from in bed, the only moment of tenderness was in the morning when I would help him with his tie. The skill is nothing short of masterful. Thinking of him again, you've drifted off for the second time. The voice was cool, the demeanor nothing if not deferential. A wave of scorching warmth washed over my skin. It tickled a little. I snapped back to reality. and as I turned my head, my lips lightly brushed against his cheek. Shushya, what a coincidence. Is this your boyfriend? Not far away, Meng Jitong's voice rang out in surprise. 10. The fingers paused for a moment. I loosened my tie. Recognizing the figures approaching, it was Meng Jitong and Jiang Yuhing. Their hands were clasped together, swinging gently and intermittently, with Jiang Yuhing quietly letting her lead. For no particular reason, a sense of relief washed over his heart. It felt as though this was how things were always meant to be. Sis, brother-in-law. I gave a slight nod. Meng Jitong beamed, looking us over as she teased. Shushya, I had no idea you knew how to tie a tie, and so expertly at that. You must have practiced a lot in private. My fingers suddenly felt awkward and unsure of what to do. I just smiled without saying a word. An impossible to ignore gaze settled upon me. It lingered for only a moment before gently shifting away. The movie's about to start. Jiang Yuhing said flatly. Meng Jitong pouted. I know. If you dare laugh when I make my entrance, you're dead meat. Got it. We weren't far apart. His gentle voice drifted into my ears. I couldn't help but think back to when we had just gotten married. A foreign film I'd been eagerly awaiting finally premiered at the cinema. I bought 2 tickets and rehearsed in my mind 100 different ways to ask him to go with me. My fingers were numb from clutching them so tightly. Jiang Yuhing stared at me for a moment, his voice cool and detached. I don't like going to the movies. It wasn't that he disliked movies, it's just that he doesn't like me. A chill ran through my fingers. I snapped back to reality and saw Shinji, head bowed, carefully wiping away the dried blood. It felt cool, not very painful. He still gave it a gentle blow. Finally, wrap it up with a really cute band-aid, Miss Juishya. This is the 3rd time. He looked at me, his clear, bright eyes somehow fox-like. If we keep this up tomorrow, we'll be found out. 11. I'm really not attuned to matters of the heart. In over 20 years of living, I've only ever had feelings for Jiang Yuhing. Even after marrying him, we haven't spent much time together. I pressed my lips together, feeling somewhat at a loss. It's alright, I am yours, and I will always have your back. Slender fingers slid down between the gaps. They evolved into an interlocking of hands. His hands were not particularly smooth, the pads of his fingers had thin calluses, and their gentle scrape made my palm tingle. To make a living, he's taken on plenty of manual labor jobs, carrying cement on construction sites, working as a truck driver, delivering takeout. A warm ache welled up from deep in my heart, mingling with his warmth, filling every space between my fingers. I didn't shy away from his touch. Okay, we spent the day like any ordinary couple, holding hands, sharing embraces. In the end, Shinji saw me home. Be careful on your way back to campus, and text me when you get there, I reminded him. I was just about to turn and leave. A firm grip caught my wrist. There's still one thing left to do. I looked over, puzzled. What? Couples need to kiss. The words had barely left his mouth when cool, soft lips pressed against mine. In an instant, my mind went blank with a roaring static. His kiss was like him, gentle, soft, and unhurried. Yet it carried an undercurrent of undeniable force, a gentle yet pervasive invasion that claimed every inch of space. By the time I realized what was happening, the territory was already lost. The kiss left me lightheaded, my brain starved for oxygen. I stared back at him, my expression nearly vacant with shock. Shinji let out a soft chuckle. His lips still glistened with moisture when he suddenly blinked. Someone's coming. The sound of thin-soled leather shoes drew closer, following his gaze. I saw a tall, slender figure in the distance. 12. The streetlight was dim, making it hard to see the expression on his face. A crimson glow flickered between his fingers. Smoke veiled Jiang Yuhing's features, which, perhaps set against the night, carried a brooding, sinister air. It was unclear how long he had been standing there, or how much he had seen. I was about to offer a sheepish explanation when it hit me. We weren't married anymore, so I tightened my grip on Shinji's hand and spoke politely. Good evening, brother-in-law. He merely gave me a fleeting, indifferent glance. He flicked away the cigarette butt and walked past me without another word. Your brother-in-law doesn't seem to like me very much. Shinji's voice carried a hint of hurt. Miss Juishya, I don't think your judgment is something others should question. At that moment, Shinji reminded me of a very large rabbit. I smiled and ruffled his hair. What's mine has always been presentable, no exaggeration. My parents really like him. Following the usual custom of asking about family background, Shinji replied with neither arrogance nor servility. I'm an orphan. My parents passed away when I was young. I only have my grandmother at home. Hearing this, Father nodded with even greater satisfaction. Alright, after graduation, come into the company first to gain some experience. My parents only had 2 children, my sister and me, while we were both groomed as heirs from a young age. My sister thrived in the spotlight and had no interest in immersing herself in the business world, so the responsibility fell squarely on my shoulders. Worried I couldn't shoulder the burden alone. A key reason for the marriage alliance with the Jiang family was for our 2 families to support each other. Their criteria for a son-in-law were clear, either from a well-established business dynasty, or someone with an impeccable, unencumbered background. Shinji is poised and measured in his conduct, both courteous and respectful. The overall atmosphere remained fairly relaxed, except for one thing. Jiang Yuhing was also there. The harder you try to draw a line with someone, the more entangled you become. We've seen each other so often these past few days, it feels like half a lifetime. I need to pick out a wedding dress in the next few days, but I'm not great at choosing. Xia, could you give me your opinion? Jiang Yuhing looked up, his gaze settling on me. 13, my instinct was to refuse, but the words wouldn't come out. A younger sister helping her older sister pick a wedding dress, it was the most natural request in the world. Okay, Meng Jitong was trying on the wedding dress in the fitting room. Her sister had considerable influence in the entertainment industry, yet she didn't want the designer to deliver it directly to her home. I deliberately chose a bridal boutique with strong privacy, not wanting her to be subjected to any unnecessary disturbances. The place had been cleared out. In the vast space, only Jiang Yuhing and I remained. The air felt thick and heavy, gradually making it hard for me to breathe. It's rather laughable, really. In my past life, I was married to Jiang Yuhing for 3 years, yet we never once visited a bridal shop together. I never imagined our first time would be under these circumstances. How long did you renew your contract for? He crossed his long legs, tilting his head back slightly to look at me, his beautiful eyes filled with amusement. I was puzzled. You're trying to pass off a kept man, a fake, to our parents. Aren't you afraid they'll be furious when they find out? He was talking about Shinji. I frowned in displeasure. I hated anyone looking down on Shinji, and I absolutely wouldn't tolerate anyone speaking of him with contempt. My tone turned sharp. Watch your words, Yuhing. He is my boyfriend. The next instant, a soft, derisive chuckle drifted over. It was laced with sarcasm. A boyfriend you paid for. My face paled, and I clenched my fist. It suddenly dawned on me why he was so over the top. He thought I was playing hard to get, that I'd deliberately hired a man to test if he'd get jealous. The contract is for a lifetime. Don't worry, brother Yuhing. I sincerely wish you 2 a lifetime of happiness together. Even if the affection is gone, the business connection remains. There's no need for me to pick a fight with the eldest son of the Jiang family. For some reason, Jiang Yuhing's expression darkened, as if he was about to say something. Meng Jitong came out. Yuhing, how is it? The cold, rigid air around Jiang Yuhing dissipated a little, his gaze softening. Very beautiful. I watched in silence. My mind was perfectly calm and still. 14. Meng Jitong was found by the obsessive fan after all. We were instantly swarmed by the crowd. Goddess Tang Tang, I love you. Can I have your autograph? Could you sign it on my shirt, please? The chaotic screams and shouts were incessant. I was stunned by the commotion and instinctively wanted to call for my bodyguard. I never expected the fans to be this frenzied. The crowd surged, and someone shoved me hard from behind. A feeling of weightlessness hit me, and I crashed heavily to the ground. My ankle, I think I sprained it. A sharp, piercing pain shot through me. Help me. I looked at Jiang Yuhing, my voice catching in my throat. His pupils contracted, and he instinctively took a step toward me. Ah, Yuhing, save me. From behind me came Meng Jitong's desperate cry. Jiang Yuhing froze for a split second, then spun around in an instant, shielding her within his embrace. Even though she had always known he would choose her. A sharp, twanging snap. It felt as though something had finally and completely snapped. I'm not really sure what happened after that. I passed out. I heard Jiang Yuhing completely lost his temper. He coldly kicked and knocked out the most disruptive fan. Another one was pinned to the ground and beaten so badly they ended up in the hospital. The video was leaked online and caused quite a stir. We had to spend some money to suppress it, but Meng Jitong is a natural traffic magnet. Online, she keeps fueling wave after wave of CP fans. A sworn enemy can't become a wife. I forgot the middle part and the end. Actually, the sworn enemy is the wife. No, seriously, did you see our brother-in-law's glare? He looked like he wanted to chop the hands off that sightseeing fan who touched Sister Tang. So shippable. I'm totally invested. The video flashes back. I got a clear look at the victim's face. It looks like the one who pushed me. He's not coming out, Shinji said, finishing the long, unbroken peel of an apple. He cut a small piece and held it to his lips. Take a break, you'll strain your eyes. I took a bite. I looked at him. I saw he got 5 years. Shinji nodded. Yeah, seeing how unsurprised he looked, I raised an eyebrow. You're doing. He owed some money at the casino and tried to make a comeback by selling photos of a female celebrity. He's got plenty of skeletons in his closet. Digging up just one was enough, Shinji said calmly. I paused for a moment. It dawned on me that this man was not to be trifled with. He looked up, his smile pure and guileless. Miss Juishya, I will always be the rifle in your hands. I smiled faintly. I planted a kiss on his tall, straight nose. It's fine, I like it. The door creaked open as someone entered. 15, Meng Jitong came to see me. It was rare for her to be alone. Shinji stood up obediently. Sister, you changed your tune quickly enough. She paused for a moment. Oh, you're here too. I have something I'd like to say to Xiaxia. Would you mind? Shinji turned to look at me. I feel like having some strawberry cake. Ag, alright, I'll go buy it. The door closed. And I shifted my gaze to Meng Jitong's face. She seemed not to have rested well lately. Faint dark circles shadowed the skin beneath her long, curled lashes. Her lips parted slightly as she asked, is the injury serious? Does it still hurt? I gave a faint smile and shook my head. I didn't think she was just asking if I had recovered. The next second, she took my hand, her voice hoarse. Xiaxia, please don't like Jiang Yuhing. Okay, I was taken aback. I never expected her to blurt out something like that out of the blue. I almost laughed, as you can see. My boyfriend and I are doing great. Meng Jitong fell silent for a moment. Xiaxia, you've been reborn too, haven't you? I was a little surprised, but it was within my expectations. The lack of a reply was taken as a tacit agreement. I'm sorry, she whispered, tears welling up in her beautiful eyes, her smile tinged with bitterness. It's so strange, isn't it? How could I have suddenly fallen for someone so utterly detestable? Everyone else dotes on me. Yet Jiang Yuhing is the only one who treats me with cold indifference. The more he ignored me, the more I craved his attention. All that bickering and noise for so long. I was just resentful that he didn't like me enough. I fell silent. I couldn't quite grasp it. It was one thing for the others not to understand Jiang Yuhing's heart, but I knew it all too well. Meng Jitong spoke at length, her tears flowing from start to finish. She is beautiful. It's even more heartbreaking to see her cry. In our past life, I was the one who harmed you, Meng Jitong said, looking at me. I want to ask for your forgiveness. I am willing to make amends, no matter the cost. My eyes flickered. Sister, I want 5% of the shares you hold. 16, Meng Jitong agreed. Before leaving, she glanced back at me. Xiaxia, no matter what happens, I'm begging you, please don't like Jiang Yuhing anymore. I nodded. I just thought she loved Jiang Yuhing too much and didn't dwell on it further. The Jiang and Meng families were uniting through marriage, so the wedding arrangements were naturally expedited. I'm delighted to see it. Leveraging the influence of a marriage alliance is nothing but beneficial, whether it's for financing and listing a new business segment or boosting stock prices. I had Shinji transferred to the company ahead of schedule. I mentored him personally, step by step, even though I haven't handled any company business since marrying Jiang Yuhing. Thankfully, I haven't gotten too rusty. Everything proceeded in an orderly fashion. The wedding venue was set on a private island. The guest list wasn't large, consisting only of close friends and family from our circle. I've been lucky enough to get 3 days off. The night breeze carried away my weariness as I sipped on fruit wine, perhaps numbed by the alcohol. I didn't notice someone approach my side. I'm getting married tomorrow. A low, slightly raspy voice drifted to my ears, mingled with the sea breeze. I looked over, my reactions dulled. It was Jiang Yuhing's face. I studied him slowly. His features were sharp and severe, but the habitual warmth in his eyes softened their edge. When he wasn't smiling, however, an inexplicable chill seemed to emanate from him. I offered a composed, faint smile. Congratulations. I thought he would test me again and again, but he didn't. It was like calmly delivering a notice. Jiang Yuhing left. Before he went, he fixed me with a steady gaze, his dark eyes veiled in a thick, impenetrable mist, unfathomable and impossible to grasp. The sea breeze carried a chill, sobering me up a little. Jiang Yuhing, you finally got what you wanted. 17, the wedding went off without a hitch, and Meng Jitong was more radiant than ever. Perhaps it was seeing others find their happiness, but my eyes welled up with tears. From where I was sitting, I had a clear view of Jiang Yuhing's face. As they exchanged rings, he suddenly looked up, his gaze locking intently on me. I love you. I froze instantly, rooted to the spot. The moment my tears fell, a mechanical voice sounded in my mind. Congratulations to the male lead on successfully marrying the female lead, unlocking the happy family ending. May the rest of your lives be free of regrets and filled with everlasting happiness. The tears in her eyes instantly froze. She turned to her mother and asked, "Did you hear something?" Her mother, eyes red, shook her head in confusion. "No, what sound?" I forced a stiff smile. "It's nothing. Probably just my imagination." That sentence left me distracted for the entire day. Shinji sent over the latest project updates and data. "Don't worry. Everything at the company is running smoothly. I miss you." My heart skipped a beat. I was about to type a reply when I realized I couldn't lift my fingers. A wave of intense weakness washed over me. My eyelids grew heavier and heavier. Struggling to keep them open, I saw a familiar figure walking towards me. A voice, so tender it could drown you, carried a hint of grievance. "Shush ya. Newlywed life isn't happy at all." 18. I woke up, still on that same island. My phone, tablet, anything that could connect me to the outside world had been taken away. Jiang Yuhing didn't restrict my movements, but after running across most of the island, I realized there was no one else here, just him and me. A chilling dread crept up my spine. I sank onto the sand, utterly spent. The next moment, a tall figure loomed over me. Jiang Yuhing crouched down, took hold of my ankle, and without a hint of disgust, brushed away the clinging sand. "Tired? What would you like to eat? I have time to make something." I was taken aback for a moment. I realized he was making it up to me. He was overcompensating for everything he denied me in our past life, cooking for me. Sitting through that movie I was so eager to see, I leaned against him, eating the crumbly biscuits. Then, I picked up the fallen crumbs and ate them. I was certain he also had memories of a past life. Sadly, it was all too late. I looked at him calmly. If Shinji doesn't hear from me for 24 hours, he'll come looking for me. At the mention of that name, a crack appeared in Jiang Yuhing's gentle expression. His lips still curved in a smile, yet a terrifying chill emanated from him. He used his thumb to wipe a crumb from the corner of my lips and ate it naturally. My Shashya is so naive. Do you really think teaming up with my defeated rival will do you any good? But I'm glad you've finally learned to protect yourself. I gazed into those eyes, desperate as if drinking poison to quench a thirst. But I don't like you anymore. A wave of despair flashed in Jiang Yuhing's eyes, still as stagnant water. But I love you. Do you have any idea how many days and nights I've gotten through just by thinking of you? Shashya, you can't wait until I'm finally able to love you openly and honestly, only to turn me away. It's not fair. 19. He spoke extremely slowly, enunciating every single word. It was as if he were forcing the words out through gritted teeth. I stared at him in astonishment. What do you mean? Seeing this, he smiled and pressed his thin lips to my forehead. You don't need to know, Shashya. You just need to know that I love you. No one will disturb us. As soon as the words were spoken, a suffocating sense of despair washed over me. Jiang Sihing must have used quite a few methods. 3 days had passed. Shinji had vanished without a trace. My anxiety grew with each passing moment. On the 4th day, helicopters encircled the entire island. Jiang Yuhing had one last trick up his sleeve. He scooped me up and ran towards the speedboat, his voice a soft, cloying whisper. Don't be afraid. Shashya, we'll lose them soon. The final syllable had not yet faded. A shard of glass pierced his chest. Jiang Ziheng was stunned, disbelief mingled with devastation. You. I fought to steady my trembling hands. I stared at him blankly. Jiang Ziheng, I don't want to be tied to you anymore. I have my own life to live. In that single moment, I saw the light in his eyes completely fade, due to his injury. He was immobile and was quickly found by the police officers, accused of unlawful confinement and kidnapping, and with the Meng and Shen families fanning the flames from behind the scenes, the Jiang family had to sacrifice a major asset just to secure his release. 3 days later, Jiang Yuhing took his own life. Noah was left. No final words. According to the Jiang family's housekeeper who delivered his meals, he kept repeating just one phrase, if I could do it all over again, I would definitely succeed. When I heard the news, I was handling the business of a new division going public. My fingers trembled, and tears fell from my eyes. Shinji held them. A searing heat radiated steadily from the back of my hand. He smiled. There's a new dessert at the shop downstairs. Would you like to try it, Miss Juishia? I nodded. Alright, end of text. Story 2. Pei Chei's childhood sweetheart is dying. I was lying on the operating table when I heard the news. Pei-Che threw down the scalpel and said to his colleague, "Please take care of my wife's surgery." With that said, he turned and walked away, watching Pei-Che's retreating figure. I couldn't hold back as tears streamed down my face. The next second, the cold scalpel instantly pressed against my skin. His colleague spoke indifferently. "What are you crying for? With me here, you won't die." One slap. Pei-Che wordlessly threw down the scalpel, tossed the gloves into the trash bin. "I can't perform this surgery, get Su Nanqing to come." It was the 20th minute after Lu Yun's accident when my usually composed husband finally showed a crack in his demeanor. He urgently called off my surgery and began turning his back to everyone, pretending to calmly remove his equipment, yet his slightly trembling hands betrayed him. Lu Yun was in trouble, and he was worried sick. He wished he could fly to her side the very next second. "Professor Pei, your wife's heart rate is very fast, she's extremely nervous. Are you sure you want to leave at this moment?" A dull ache spread through my chest. I calmly told the nurse, "It's fine, any doctor can perform the surgery." Everyone in the operating room looked at me with pity in their eyes. I just smiled. The day Lu Yun returned, I knew my marriage with Pei-Che had come to an end. To make Pei-Che abandon the dying Lu Yun and perform surgery on me, he couldn't accept it, nor was I willing to entrust my life to such a person. The operating room door slid open silently. A tall figure wearing a mask walked in. It was Pei-Che's colleague, Su Nanqing. As their figures crossed paths, Pei-Che said, "Nanxia surgery, I'll leave it in your hands. If I don't go now, I might regret it for the rest of my life." Listening to his words, my tears silently streamed down. How embarrassing. Nan Xiao, it's just being abandoned once again. Why did I start crying? A sudden shadow fell before my eyes. The cold blade of a scalpel pressed against my skin. The usually aloof and taciturn Dr. Su spoke calmly. "Why cry? With me here, you won't die." 2. The surgery lasted 2 hours. By the time it was over, evening had already fallen. Heavy rain began falling outside the window. Su Nanqing stayed by my side until confirming my condition was stable before leaving. When Pei-Che's call came through, my anesthesia had just worn off, and I was drenched in cold sweat from the pain. Answering the phone, a lively and charming female voice came through. "Sorry, sis-in-law, I don't know how." His friend relayed the message. "It's just a minor scrape," but Pei-Che rushed over without considering the severity. "I've already scolded him for it." Then, her coquettish voice came through the phone. "You're already in your 30s, yet still so impulsive. Did you think this was back when we were dating? There's 1 cup of milk tea left. Take it to your sister-in-law as an apology." A rustling sound came from across, as if Pei-Che had snatched the phone away. "How many times have I told you, stay put if you don't want your wound to fester? She just had surgery, she can't drink milk tea. These were all bought for you." The conversation on the other end was peaceful, only Pei-Che's brother felt extremely wronged. "I just mentioned you were in a car accident." And he got so anxious he hung up the phone. "What does that have to do with me? Keep your lovey-dovey stuff to yourselves, don't drag me into it." I suddenly felt nauseous from the pain of the wound. My chest ached from the pressure. The request for Pei-Che to prescribe painkillers died on my lips. I hung up the phone without a word. The nurse pushed the door open, handed me a pill, and said with a smile, "Here, this is the painkiller prescribed by Dr. Su, take it and get some rest early." 3. Since I still had to work, I was discharged after just 3 days in the hospital. Pei-Che's car was parked right outside when I stepped out of the hospital. Out of habit, I opened the passenger door. A faint gasp was heard. Only then did I notice Lu Yun pulling her leaning figure back from the driver's seat. Her disheveled collar, combined with that slightly provocative gaze, left me frozen in place. "Sis-in-law, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." She looked like she was about to cry from anxiety. Pei-Che removed the strand of hair tangled around his wristwatch, cold with a hint of reprimand. "What nonsense are you talking about? Don't let your sister-in-law misunderstand." After speaking, Pei-Che explained to me. "Her hair got tangled in my watch when she picked something up." I knew Pei-Che wasn't lying to me. He has always been open and aboveboard. Before marriage, Pei-Chen clearly told me, "I've had a past relationship, but after marriage, I will remain loyal to you." But sometimes this boundary can become blurred, becoming a breeding ground for ambiguity. For example, right now, suppressing the bitterness in my heart, I said, "Pei-Che, let's talk. I don't want anyone else present." Perhaps my emotions made Lu Yun feel uneasy. Biting her lip, she said, "Pei-Che, I should just take a taxi back. Sister-in-law seems angry, Pei Chen remained calm and composed. Can you walk on your own legs? Lu Yun's face turned pale as she forced a smile. I'll try my best. But she didn't get up immediately, instead sitting there waiting. Even Pei Chen turned to look at me. His eyes were calm and profound, no different than usual, yet somehow I knew Pei Chen wanted me to say something, preferably something refined and proper, but I didn't want to endure such unfair treatment. I stepped aside from the doorway and said to Lu Yun, "Get out, there are plenty of taxis at the intersection." Lu Yun froze, then walked away with reddened eyes. I sat down in the seat she had occupied. The atmosphere in the car was suffocating. After a long pause, Pei Chen finally spoke gently. "There's no need to take your anger out on her because of my departure. You know, the emergency department called. It was just a routine consultation. I would have left for anyone in that situation. I don't have the energy to dwell on what was really going through his mind at that moment. I just feel so exhausted. Pei Chen, let's get a divorce." Pei Chen slammed on the brakes, sending items tumbling across the car floor. He slightly furrowed his brows. "Nan Xiao, why must you do this? Is it all because of Lu Yun?" I endured the dull pain from the knife wound and said, "Yes, it's all because of Lu Yun." A sudden cry of pain abruptly came from outside the window at this moment, accompanied by the honking of cars. Lu Yun fell at the street intersection, the most conspicuous spot, clearly visible from here at a glance. Gazing at the surging crowd outside the car window, I smiled sarcastically. "Your Lu Yun has fallen, aren't you going to check on her?" Pei Chen exuded an icy aura as he restarted the car. "You're about to divorce me, how could I possibly care about an outsider right now?" 4. The atmosphere froze solid during the drive home. When we arrived, Tuanzi proactively rubbed against us, meowing at both of us. This was the cat Pei Chen gave me the year we got married, normally when sleeping. Tuanzi likes to sleep between him and me. Pei Chen stared at Tuanzi for a while before bending down to pick him up, saying helplessly, "Tuanzi, Mom and Dad had a fight. Can you ask Mom to forgive Dad?" "Okay." Tuanzi meowed understandingly and looked at me. This is how Pei Chen comforts me after every argument. He knows my heart softens whenever I see dumplings, but this time, I pressed my lips together and stayed silent. Pei Chen lowered his head first. "Did you take the painkillers Su Nanqing prescribed for you on time? Was it you who told him to open it?" Pei Chen raised a delicate eyebrow. "Otherwise, did you think I didn't want you anymore?" Pei Chen leaned in to kiss me, his slender hands cradling my cheeks, his cool fingertips sending shivers. "Nan Xiao, I'm not so foolish as to destroy our marriage." As my mind wandered, his gentle whisper reached my ears. "Be good, let's not get divorced." "Okay, no, not good at all." 5. If Lu Yun had returned 3 years ago, I wouldn't have minded. After all, Pei Chen and I met through a blind date, a scholarly family matched with a medical family, a well-matched marriage, yet the emotions were faint. I work as a teacher at a university. Pei Chen is busy with work, and in the first year of our marriage, the number of times we went on dates could be counted on one hand. I don't remember when I fell in love with Pei Chen. Perhaps familiarity breeds fondness. Perhaps it was the rainy night when I got into a car accident and was viciously insulted by the perpetrator, that Pei Chen came rushing through the rain, a dignified medical professor, who got into a physical altercation with the perpetrator for my sake. With injuries on his face, he wiped away my tears, his tone both helpless and doting. "What are you crying for, Jojo? You can always rely on me." Yet this reliable man appeared in Lu Yun's social media just 3 days after I was discharged from the hospital. That day I had just finished class and was standing in the office getting water. Opening the social feed, Lu Yun's post unexpectedly appeared before my eyes. She had fresh bandages wrapped around her knee. Caption: "The price of abandoning me halfway was having the great professor personally come to change my dressings." After a while, she deleted the post, resent a message, got scolded. "Next time I'll stay put and wait for you to come back," added a cute selfie, simply gentle, with slightly swollen lips, just like a kitten being comforted after enduring grievances. In the corner of the photo was the wristwatch Pei Chen had taken off. My hand trembled slightly as I set down the cup. It wasn't until a colleague nearby called me that I snapped out of the indescribable nausea. I recognized the table in the corner of the photo. It's Pei Chen's parents' house. He brought Lu Yun home. My parents always said I had a strong vengeful streak. When bitten by a dog as a child, I had to bite it back. Things have gone this far. I have no reason to endure it anymore. I decisively gave Lu Yun a like, commented below, "Nice watch." Then I set my phone to silent mode. After finishing the lecture for students, it was already approaching noon when I opened my phone. I found Pei Che had called me 7 or 8 times, and Lu Yun had called 3 times. The social media post had already been deleted. Pei Che's call came through again. His tone was helpless. Nan Xiao, why aren't you answering the phone? It's Monday today. I have classes to teach. He choked up for a moment, only then remembering I never answer calls during lectures. In those silent seconds, I thought he was considering how to explain it to me. But speaking first would only make it seem more suspicious. I just waited quietly. Soon, Lu Yun's sobbing could be heard. I'm sorry, sis-in-law. It's been a long time since I've seen uncle and auntie, so I came to visit them today. Pei Che happened to be here too, so he helped change my dressing. Please don't argue with him over this. I laughed. Which eye of yours saw me arguing with him? Being this guilty, you wouldn't have done something shady, would you, Nan Xiao? Pei Che spoke calmly, reminding me, Mom and Dad are nearby, mind your manners. Lu Yun just posted to express gratitude to friends. She didn't do anything wrong and shouldn't have to endure your questioning, perhaps because I remained silent for too long. Pei Che grew somewhat restless. When do you finish work? I'll pick you up to come home for dumplings. Mom made them herself. Feeling a tightness in my chest, I took a deep breath and said with a smile, Pei Che, in that house. It's either her or me. What answered me was a long stretch of silence. I didn't know Lu Yun had put the call on speakerphone. My voice echoed through the living room. The whole family heard it. Pei Che's patience ran out, and he coldly tossed out, fine, suit yourself, was the first to hang up the phone. 6. This should be the first Cold War between Pei Che and me in 3 years of marriage, neither too early nor too late, right when Lu Yun's play Reunion Lovers was released. The teachers in the office couldn't stop praising this play. I heard it's about reuniting with an ex, quite touching. Many people got back together with their ex after watching it. I blocked out all the gossip and went to Pei Che's hospital carrying an honorary banner, taken by Su Nanqing. Pei Che isn't here. Maybe you could give it to him personally another day. He wore a light blue mask, his skin pale and cool, hands tucked in the pockets of his white coat, aloof as ever. I smiled and said, "This is for you. Thank you for performing the surgery on me last time." Su Nanqing studied me with those pale eyes of his. Without saying much, he hung the silk banner on the wall. I asked him again, Dr. Su, I'll come back to you for the suture removal, right? Since your Pei Che is busy, you came to me instead. Pei Che definitely doesn't have time. During this period of Cold War, he moved back to the Pei family home. The number of house calls increased from twice a week to 4 times a week. Yet never contacts me. Probably wants me to take the initiative and visit him at the hospital, but I never went even once. Instead, I chose times when he wasn't there and had Su Nanqing take over my follow-up appointments. Half a month later, Pei Chen couldn't take it anymore and called me. Why do you keep looking for Su Nanqing? Follow-up consultation. Monday through Thursday are my consultation hours. Yet you specifically choose weekends to see him for follow-ups. I smiled. What's gotten into you today? So angry. I have classes to teach from Monday to Thursday. When would I have the time? Pei Che's voice was icy. Nan Xiao, do you realize what you're doing? Some people are just like that. When they themselves waver in a relationship, they become overly suspicious, assuming their partner would do the same. I kindly discussed with him, how about rescheduling your consultation hours to weekends? Pei Chen fell silent. Lu Yun's theatrical performance was scheduled for the weekend. He couldn't bear to part with it. I hung up the phone and looked up to meet Su Nanqing's calm and desolate gaze. I froze slightly. What's wrong? Su Nanqing lowered his eyes, his slender fingers gently brushing over my medical records. Nan Xiao, you've been prescribed sleeping pills 3 times this week. I can't give you any more. It's okay, you can still fall asleep when drunk. Thank you for these past few days. Su Nanqing stared at my forced smile and suddenly asked, do you want to drink together tonight? What? He took off the rubber gloves and stood up. Department gathering. Pei Che will probably be there too, so that's how it is. As a doctor's family member, it's perfectly normal for me to appear at their gatherings. So I agreed and went happily. Coincidentally, Pei Che was usually present, but he didn't come tonight. Seeing that I came in vain, his colleagues all looked at me with sympathetic eyes. During the meal, they took quite good care of me, whether intentional or not. The wine Su Nanqing placed by my side was mellow and gentle, not at all pungent. Soon, I began to feel a bit dizzy. As it was nearing the end, the workgroup chat of these colleagues suddenly chimed. Su Nanqing's phone was lit up, placed beside me, so I saw the message. It was Pei Chen standing with his back to the camera, cooking in the kitchen. The photo was withdrawn less than 30 seconds after being sent, Pei Che explained in the group chat. Sorry, my wife was just fooling around. Instantly, all eyes at the dining table were fixed on me. The room fell into dead silence. 7. I knew Pei Che had crossed the line, like a train suspended mid-air, experiencing the thrill without plunging into the abyss. He was merely cooking a meal for the visiting Lu Yun at his parents' home. I cannot question it, otherwise, it would be making unreasonable demands. Honestly, I should have seen this coming, shouldn't I? I've learned to accept such things calmly, and I don't even feel heartache anymore. After the dinner gathering, everyone decided to let Su Nanqing give me a ride home since it was on his way. Before getting in the car, Pei Che's female colleagues came over to comfort me. Don't overthink it. Get some good rest first. I drank quite a bit, numbly thanking everyone, then I rested my head on the chair and fell asleep. Su Nanqing drove very steadily, so much so that when the car stopped downstairs and he called out to me, I was jolted out of my dream. My phone had somehow slid over to Su Nanqing's side. I instinctively reached to pick it up. My hair got caught on Su Nanqing's wristwatch just like that. The situation is eerily similar to a soap opera. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Sorry, Su Nanqing took off his wristwatch and immediately distanced himself from me, making it easier for me to remove the hair myself. Before I could thank him, the car door was suddenly yanked open from outside. A cold wind rushed in. Pei Chen stood at the door, his voice carrying the calm before the storm. Nan Xiao, you'd better explain clearly what you're doing. This was probably the first time Pei Chen lost control in front of me. His voice could barely contain the anger. Gripping my wrist tightly, he dragged me out of Su Nanqing's car. Most of my drunkenness faded as I calmly looked at him. Let me go. I didn't do anything. I saw everything. For the first time, a trace of anger appeared on Professor Pei's usually composed and calm face. I suddenly remembered the almost identical scene on the day I was discharged from the hospital. The corners of my lips curled into a mocking smile. My hair just got caught on his wristwatch. Don't misunderstand. Pei Che probably remembered that day too. The angry expression froze on his face. 8. Pei Che's instinctive reaction still disgusted me, because I knew that if he were truly innocent, he would argue with me vehemently after I said those words, saying that his relationship with Lu Yun was completely innocent, and that I was being unreasonable. But Pei Che didn't. He was flustered, panicked, let go of me, and didn't say a word for a long while. So, the moment Lu Yun approached him, he genuinely considered having a grand reunion with her after their long separation. He even thought about abandoning his responsibilities as a husband, pinning Lu Yun against the seat, and kissing her fiercely. It was my appearance that brought back his shitty conscience as a husband. I turned back calmly and thanked Su Nanqing. I still have something to say to Pei Che. Be careful on your way back. Su Nanqing nodded and left. The surroundings were eerily quiet. I ignored Pei Che and turned to walk toward the stairwell. Nan Xiao, let's talk. Pei Che reached out to grab me, but I suddenly turned around and slapped him hard across the face. The sharp sound of the slap echoed through the hallway. Long suppressed grievances and anger erupted in an instant. I remembered his retreating figure leaving the operating table, remembered the fear and helplessness of being abandoned by my husband. Trembling with rage, I said coldly, Pei Che, don't fucking touch me. I find you disgusting. I don't know how Pei Che explained things to his family. In short, Pei Che took the initiative to end the Cold War and moved back in. He bought many toys for Tuanzi and carried the cat around in front of me every day, repeating the same trick. Xiao Xiao, could you hold Tuanzi for a while? I took the rice ball and absent-mindedly kneaded it a couple of times. Just as he thought I had forgiven him, the doorbell rang. My parents appeared at the doorstep. Nan Xiao, I heard you two are going on a business trip. Well, you guys take Tuanzi back to raise for now. When will you be back? Not sure yet. Our parents noticed the tension between us and silently picked up Tuanzi before leaving. Closing the door, I saw Pei Che's pallid face. I lightly tossed the toy he had just handed me onto the floor. Consider the divorce. Tuanzi stays with me. As for the rest, let the lawyers handle it. Only at this moment did Pei Che realize I was serious. His gentle demeanor vanished without a trace. He uttered 4 words stiffly. I disagree. Nan Xiao, Lu Yun and I are completely innocent. If you dislike her, I can cut off all contact with her. Whatever you want, whatever makes you happy, I'll go along with it. How did I become the unreasonable one again? I pulled out the chair and sat down, speaking softly. Pei Che, who cares who you like? If I want a divorce, can't it just be because I've had enough of you? Pei Chei's following words got stuck in his throat. He accused me. Is it because of Su Nanqing? I took a sip of water. Pei Chei, stop being unreasonable. Su Nanqing and I are completely innocent. If you can't stand him, I can cut off contact with him. As long as you happily divorce me, I'll comply with whatever you say. In less than a minute, his own words were thrown back at him. For the first time, I saw a look of utter exasperation on Pei Chei's face, but I'd lost interest in arguing with him. Whatever your relationship with Lu Yun is, that's exactly what mine is with Su Nanqing, pure and blameless, open and aboveboard. We'll talk when you've made up your mind, a sentence dripping with sarcasm, plunging our relationship to freezing point. Pei Chei refused the divorce, leaving us at a stalemate, yet soon enough, he tasted the bitterness of his own actions coming back to haunt him, whether it was when I delivered fruit to Su Nanqing, spoke up for him in Pei Chei's presence, or messaged Su Nanqing during meals due to wound concerns. Pei Chei's long-suppressed emotions finally erupted. He slammed his chopsticks down right in front of me. Nanqiao, what exactly do you want me to do? I've already cut ties with Lu Yun. How much longer are you going to keep this up? On the phone he threw at me were long, pleading messages from Lu Yun. Pei Chei, please talk to me. Are you getting back at me for breaking up with you? I was wrong. Okay, let's just be friends from now on. I'll behave and never disturb your life again. I placed my own phone on the table as well. Lu Yun has ulterior motives toward you. Isn't it natural for you to ignore her? Why should I give up my primary physician just because you rejected her? My chat history with Su Nanqing is completely normal. Follow-up appointment on Saturday. Is the wound still hurting? Much better. Then prepare to remove the stitches. Okay. Pei Chei couldn't find any fault, but as a surgeon, his wife having someone else remove her stitches was the biggest issue. I knew what Pei Chei wanted to say, so I preemptively cut him off. You didn't perform the surgery on me, so don't interfere with the follow-up treatment. I'm the kind of person who believes in staying faithful to the end. 9. Pei Chei was sitting in the living room. He hadn't spoken for a long time, whether it was from sheer anger towards him or not. After eating, my lower abdomen became unbearably swollen and painful. Without hesitation, I grabbed my coat and prepared to head to the hospital. Pei Chei looked up, noticed my pale face, and asked, "What's wrong?" I avoided his touch and opened the ride-hailing app. Seeing my destination set to the hospital, Pei Chei grabbed his jacket. "You won't get a ride this late. Don't be stubborn, I'll drive you." He was telling the truth. As soon as he finished speaking, his phone rang. Lu Yun's name popped up on the screen. Perhaps out of survival instinct, I grabbed it and hung up Lu Yun's call. "Pei Chei, I'm not feeling well. Take me to the hospital." Then Lu Yun called again. I answered the phone instantly. "Call one more fucking time and I'll tear you apart with my own hands." After saying that, I hurled the phone violently against the wall. The screen was shattered into pieces. I don't know what's wrong with me. My forehead was covered in fine beads of sweat. Pei Chei no longer hesitated, supporting me as we walked out. Passing by the doorway, he bent down to pick up the broken phone. At that moment, the screen lit up. Lu Yun sent a text message. "Chei, if this is your choice, would it be better if I disappeared from this world?" Pei Chei's expression changed instantly. Forgetting what he was supposed to do, he dialed a number, put on his clothes, and rushed out. Forgot to even close the door. The tremendous noise turned on the hallway lights. A neighbor opened their door and looked at me curiously. I couldn't hold on any longer. Kneeling on the ground, "Please take me to the hospital. I didn't know I was pregnant and about to have a miscarriage," when Su Nanqing arrived. He happened to hear the doctor say, "Do you want to keep the baby? If we don't handle it now, it'll be very difficult to save." Actually, I had a premonition on the way here, and I've already made my decision. "No." Su Nanqing stopped at the doorway. The person who entered was a nurse from their department, a warm-hearted elder sister. Thinking that I had quarreled with Pei Chei, she advised me to calm down while grabbing my phone to call Pei Chei. Matters concerning children should be carefully considered. Where has Pei Chei gone, leaving his wife in such a state without care? In the mindset of their older generation, having children was a joint decision for a couple. I suddenly felt extremely tired. At this moment, I no longer had the strength to resist. The instant the call connected, Lu Yun's voice came through first, slightly hoarse. "Nanqiao, I'm really sorry for letting you be so pleased with yourself these past few days. Pei Chei is in my bed right now. Did you make him angry? He was really passionate with me just now." The female colleague's expression changed abruptly, and she quickly hung up. When I called back after regaining composure, Her phone was already turned off. I've grown accustomed to sympathetic glances, smiling calmly. Sorry, his infidelity has made me a laughingstock. Perhaps it's for the best. Hospitals are breeding grounds for gossip anyway. Professor Pei, once as clear as a breeze and bright as the moon, has now been exposed to a scandal in public. His days of misfortune are not far away. 10. The abortion procedure took only a very short time. I leaned against the hospital corridor while Su Nanqing discussed the necessary precautions with the doctor. Afterwards, he sat down beside me. Hand me a cup of hot water. I feel the warmth from your palm. Thank you, Dr. Su. There are some things. I took advantage of you. If I've caused you any trouble, I'm sorry. Su Nanqing gazed calmly at the night scene outside the window. There's nothing to apologize for, Nanqiao. I'm not some clueless young man in my early 20s. What? Seeing me staring intently at him, Su Nanqing stood up and casually remarked, it's nothing. Sister Wang will come later to take you to Pei Chei's lounge. Pei Chei only learned about my pregnancy the next day. I had just stepped out of the lounge when he rushed to the hospital in a hurry. Nanqiao. Pei Chei's voice was urgent as he rushed over and carefully cradled my face in his hands, his eyes revealing unmistakable relief. We're going to have a baby. He probably doesn't realize he still carries the scent of Lu Yun's perfume on him. I frowned slightly. Where did you hear that news? Sister Wang told me. Sister Wang was the kind-hearted woman who called him last night. Pei Chei's habit of only half listening is probably incurable. Lu Yun appeared behind Pei Chei at some unknown moment. Her sweet smile concealed hidden jealousy and provocation. Sis-in-law, I heard you're pregnant. Last night Pei Chei even came looking for me, completely out of his mind. She must have thought she was speaking in riddles before everyone. Feeling great, aren't you? But she didn't know that her words from last night had spread throughout the hospital overnight. At that moment, several people behind her suddenly realized and started pointing at her with their phones, confirming she was the shameless mistress from the phone call. The atmosphere on site felt somewhat eerie. Lu Yun paused briefly, but didn't dwell on it. I suddenly found it all quite ridiculous. Pei Chei frowned. Nanqiao, what are you laughing at? Didn't anyone tell you I aborted the child? Pei Chen's expression stiffened. What do you mean by that? Seeing my mocking smile, Pei Chen's face stiffened as he coldly rebuked. Nanqiao, how dare you make decisions without consulting me? I am your husband. The room suddenly fell into an eerie silence. I couldn't suppress the sarcasm in my voice. Do you even remember you're my husband? What were you doing last night when I called you? Pei Chen's eyes darkened. You called me? Yes, Lu Yun answered. She said you were being very passionate with her in bed and told me not to disturb you. The crowd erupted in gasps. This mistress is really brazen, daring to come to the hospital and flaunt herself before the rightful wife. Pei Chei's entire body froze. My hand trembled as I looked at Lu Yun's horrified expression. Is what she said true? Lu Yun's face turned deathly pale, only now realizing the strange looks from those around her. She didn't know what went wrong, just shook her head in panic. She's lying. I didn't, I didn't. I calmly delivered the final blow. What she said wasn't just heard by me, your colleagues all heard it too. Pei Chei, your mistress is this brazen. How dare you have the audacity to ask me to keep your child? 11. Lu Yun broke down completely. She cried uncontrollably. She fled in panic under the judgmental gazes of the crowd. Pei Chei seemed to have lost his senses, standing frozen in place for a long while without reacting. Local news spreads like wildfire. That very afternoon, the gossip traveled from medical circles to theater circles. The group chat was filled with all sorts of vicious remarks. How glorious for Lu Yun to be the other woman, so impressive. Why doesn't she go live and talk about it? During the play, she told everyone she wouldn't add WeChat, acting all high and mighty. Turns out she's just a filthy fly. The next day, when I went to the hospital to get medicine, I ran into Lu Yun with reddened eyes. Lu Yun stopped me, begging for my forgiveness. Nanqiao, we don't need to make things so difficult between us, right? Just help me clarify things, and I'll leave Pei Chei. Clarify what? Just pretend I never said those words. Okay, she cried bitterly. I can't lose my job. I grabbed her hair and said calmly, Lu Yun, I told you I'd tear you apart, didn't I? I dragged her to Pei Chei's office. I'll give you a chance. The evidence is in my hands. You can decide between you whether you lose your job or Pei Chei loses his. But I suggest you sacrifice yourself, firstly because you love him so much, and secondly, if Pei Chen loses his job, are you going to support your dear brother? That day, separated by a door, I heard Pei Chen's nearly out-of-control roar. My heart as calm as still water. Lu Yun seemed to be crying. Chen, it's just that my possessiveness is too strong. I just hate that woman, I just don't want her to monopolize you. We're clearly a match made in heaven, so why? Enough. Pei-Che said coldly. Yuri, just the other woman. Lu Yun cried out in disbelief. Pei-Che, that's not what you said. You clearly love me. Why don't I love my wife, but love you instead? Am I crazy? Hearing Pei-Che's almost mocking words, Lu Yun broke down. Then get a divorce. We'll move away and live together. I can be your wife. Forget it, Pei-Che said distantly. You've destroyed everything I had. Someone like you, I can't afford to keep, you see, when his interests aren't at stake. His first love is like a white moonlight, a cinnabar mole, but once he lost everything, his first love, the white moonlight and cinnabar mole, all turned into shit. Actually, I was just saying it for fun. I don't want to let either of them go. After Lu Yun left, I walked in and threw the divorce papers in Pei-Che's face. I don't want to move, and I don't want to see you, so don't go back to that house. Don't argue with me. I don't want to make this any uglier. Pei-Che sat there, pale-faced. Without saying a word, when I got home, I threw all of Pei-Che's belongings out. I sent Lu Yun several boxes of Pei-Che's personal belongings. I even sent her a separate message about it. All yours now, enough for a month, enjoy the passion. Since Lu Yun had acted in theater productions, she had considerable popularity. Her identity had already been dug up by enthusiastic netizens. Online discussions were buzzing. Oh. So her reconciliation was actually breaking up someone else's family to be the other woman. I really want to hear the audio of her provoking the original wife. Here's a lead for you at Xiaoyu Loves Life, Sick Edition. The blogger was sick and went to the hospital, and just happened to record the other woman's phone call in the background. I never expected someone actually recorded it, and someone even remixed the audio. He's so passionate about me suddenly spread everywhere. Lu Yun became an instant sensation. Several times, Lu Yun was accidentally caught in street interviews, fleeing in panic through others' lenses, looking utterly disheveled. Many people gathered below the drama troupe, asking, is enthusiastic sister still working? Hasn't this morally corrupt person been fired yet? A few days later, the drama troupe issued a statement. Lu Yun had been expelled. After that, I never saw Lu Yun again. 12. In the blink of an eye, autumn arrived. Pei-Che's incident caused a huge online uproar, and the hospital fired him. I took a long leave to recuperate my health, waiting for Pei-Che to sign the divorce agreement. In just one short month, everything was turned upside down. The pain of betrayal occasionally resurfaces late at night. We had beautiful memories, kisses we couldn't resist, and moments when a mere touch of fingertips made our hearts race and faces flush. It's precisely because of these that these 3 years feel more like a dream. After waking from the dream, we're faced with the bloody reality. I feel miserable, wronged, resentful, and in pain. Fortunately, it's not something too unbearable. Time will eventually smooth everything out. Late one night a few days later, Pei-Che called me. I was grooming Tuanzi, so I put the call on speakerphone. Pei-Che's voice echoed through the empty house. I thought he was going to discuss the terms of divorce with me, yet he suddenly started talking about the past. It's laughable when you think about it. The one who betrayed first ends up becoming the most devoted person in the end. Jojo, do you remember that time at Happy Valley when you wanted to cross the bridge and I carried you on my shoulders? I said calmly. I remember. It was 3 months after our wedding, on my birthday. The first couple to reach the finish line could win a small cake, but you accidentally dropped me into the water. Pei-Che smiled. Yes, I blamed myself all day. At the hot pot restaurant, you got drunk, leaned over to kiss me, and said you didn't blame me. That was the first time my heart raced for you. I didn't speak, just patted the dumpling's bottom as she bounced around on the sofa. Pei-Che asked again, do you remember the night of your car accident? I remember. You got hurt protecting me, and I cried. The Christmases that came after, I remember. The New Year's Eve I worked overtime, and the dumplings you brought me, I remember. The sunrise on a snowy night in Nantang, the sunset by Songming Lake, I remember. Pei-Che fell silent. After a long pause, his voice grew hoarse. Nan Xiao, our memories are so numerous that a lifetime wouldn't be enough to recount them all. Yes, a lifetime wouldn't be enough. I smiled, but the moment you slept with Lu Yun, all those memories ceased to belong to you. You were the one who betrayed everything, so the pain should be yours to bear. I heard Pei-Che's labored breathing escaping from the pain. Pei-Che, I won't erase the past that belongs to us, because I was happy, I was blessed, but that's all there is. The reason I can talk about the past with you isn't because I can't let go, but because I've already moved on. No one said that one person must accompany another for a lifetime. I won't look back, nor will I forgive. The other end of the phone fell into a long silence. Pei-Che asked hoarsely, I don't have a chance anymore, do I? I stroked Tuanzi's ears. Send me the divorce agreement as soon as possible. Let's part on good terms. 13. Pei-Che's perspective. After signing the divorce agreement, he and Nan Xiao entered the divorce cooling-off period. When they first got married, he felt like 2 months passed as slowly as years. A matchmaking-induced wedding always comes with countless trivial details to worry about. Restless and irritable, he could only hope for it to end quickly. Yet 3 years later today, Pei-Che feels time has passed so swiftly. The marriage he once resisted with all his might is visibly speeding toward its end. In the last 2 months, Nan Xiao never forgave him, the wife he remembered, soft-hearted and gentle, left with such resolute finality. Pei-Che often felt that the month he drifted away was like a dream. The first love of his youth had become unrecognizable after all these years, but it wasn't just Lu Yun who had become unrecognizable, there was also him. By the time Nan Xiao was seen again, it was already late autumn. The trees along the street had shed their leaves. She was dressed more heavily than others, seemingly more sensitive to the cold. Pei-Che thought of their unborn child, feeling an indescribable sorrow in his heart. Nan Xiao, wearing a scarf, walked up to Pei-Che with a relatively kind tone. There was some traffic on the way. Pei-Che raised his eyes and looked in the direction she had come from, but there was nothing there. The suspended heart seemed to find a slight sense of relief, but more than that, it was bitterness. I'm in a hurry, let's make this quick. Nan Xiao was the first to walk towards the Civil Affairs Bureau. For a fleeting moment, Pei-Che suddenly wanted to grab Nan Xiao, hold her in his arms, and say he regretted it. He wanted to say that Lu Yun was just an obsession from his youth. The one he loved was Nan Xiao, but this thought vanished in an instant, dissipating without a trace. Nan Xiao had said that if an amicable divorce wasn't possible, she wouldn't hold back anymore. His parents were getting old, he was unemployed in middle age, facing the dilemma of having to seek work far from home. Once employed there, the chance of returning would be slim. The parents lost all face over this and remained ill for many days without recovery. He didn't want to lose even the last shred of dignity. There weren't many people getting divorced today, yet the counter window moved as if someone had pressed a fast-forward button. In the blink of an eye, the paperwork was completed. The moment he received the divorce certificate, Pei-Che felt it weighed 1,000 pounds, crushing him until he could barely breathe. Nan Xiao stood before him, the autumn sun sliding past the eaves, drawing a stark line of dawn and dusk between him and her. Pei-Che stood in the shadows and asked Nan Xiao, what are your plans from now on? Nan Xiao replied indifferently, no particular plans, just work and live as usual. Watching Nan Xiao's hair being tousled by the wind, he instinctively raised his hand to brush it aside. Nan Xiao, having received someone's message, turned her head to look toward the street corner. The strands of hair and his hand just missed each other. A black car had stopped at the street corner at some point unnoticed. Nan Xiao left in such a hurry that she didn't even have time to turn back and say goodbye to him. Pei-Che stared at the pair of hands on the steering wheel for a long time, his mind in turmoil, his thoughts in disarray, but he didn't dare to approach. He was afraid the person in the driver's seat might be Su Nanqing, or perhaps some other man. So I could only stare unblinkingly at those hands. The autumn wind blew, tears blurring my vision. The day Lu Yun returned, I knew my marriage with Pei-Che had reached its end. Right? Pei-Che failed to see clearly. Pei-Che left his hometown. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. On New Year's Eve, he sat in the chilly duty room, where the biting cold wind outside couldn't penetrate the warmth of fireworks and the joy of family reunions. Once again, he couldn't return home this year. His parents were already extremely dissatisfied with him, and due to that incident, almost all his relatives and friends had ceased contact. Pei-Che seemed to have truly become all alone. Because of this, the dumplings Nan Xiao delivered through the heavy snow on that New Year's Eve became an unattainable dream for the rest of his life. Just after midnight, New Year's greeting messages came pouring in one after another. A message popped up. Did you know Nan Xiao got married? Pei-Chen stared at that message, sitting motionless for a long time. After a long silence, he still couldn't muster the courage to ask who the groom was. Instead, he opened the chat dialogue with Nan Xiao. The last record was 3 years ago, when Nan Xiao asked him to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get a divorce. After much hesitation, Pei-Che typed out the words, "Happy New Marriage." The sound of firecrackers made his chest ache. He took a deep breath and pressed the send button. A red exclamation mark popped up. The firecracker noises happened to stop at the same moment. The world fell into complete silence, just as his heart withered into desolation. Story 2. My childhood friend suffered from food poisoning and kidney failure. I donated a kidney to save him. However, he accused me of being shameless, deliberately poisoning him in order to marry him, and morally blackmailing him with my kindness. We were married for 30 years, and he resented me for 30 years. Before he died, he told me not to pester him in the next life. He said he felt disgusted. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day when he and his white moonlight went camping and had food poisoning. I immediately bought a plane ticket and went traveling. 1. Dr. Shen, an emergency. Amidst the commotion, I opened my eyes groggily. In front of me was the new intern nurse, looking at me anxiously. Seeing that I had woken up, she immediately heaved a sigh of relief and said, "Dr. Shen, you're finally awake. There's an emergency case in the nephrology department just now. It's food poisoning. Please go and take a look quickly." Looking at the familiar scene in front of me, my heart was pounding like a drum. Sure enough, when I took the medical record, Song Qingyan's name was written brightly on it. All of this told me that I had been reborn. At this time in my previous life, it was me who went to diagnose Song Qingyan. It was also then that I learned that he had severe kidney failure due to food poisoning. If there was no suitable kidney source, he probably wouldn't survive for more than 3 days. I met Song Qingyan when we were young, and we were childhood friends in the eyes of our friends. They didn't know that I had a crush on Song Qingyan. So when I learned the news that he was going to die, I was in a complete mess. I even went to do a kidney match and personally donated a kidney to him. Only then could Song Qingyan survive, but I didn't expect that this was the beginning of my descent into hell. It was also the last straw that pushed me to my death. I calmed my mind and took the preliminary diagnosis form handed to me by the nurse. According to the companions, it was because they ate wild poisonous mushrooms in the wild and even ate barbecue marinated with expired meat, which led to food poisoning. At this time, the patient is almost out of breath. In my previous life, I didn't pay attention to the companions she mentioned. It was not until I saw Song Qingyan that I realized that it was his white moonlight, the person Song Qingyan had liked since childhood, Su Jiao. It was also because of going camping and having a picnic with her that he got food poisoning. By the time he knew that I had donated a kidney to him, Su Jiao had already become disheartened and left, and Song Qingyan married me to repay me. But after marriage, he accused me of being shameless, morally blackmailing him with my kindness to marry me. He hated me for 30 years, hated me for breaking up his relationship with Su Jiao, and wished that I would die, even before he died. It was Song Qingyan who personally stabbed a scalpel into my heart. It was you who forced Jiao away. Even without your kidney, I could still survive. What identity did you use to donate? Just because you wanted to marry me? How could you be so cheap? If there's a next life, don't pester me anymore. I feel disgusted when I see you. In his last glance, Song Qingyan chose to commit suicide. I sneered in my heart and pushed the medical record back. I remember that Dr. Li is on duty in the emergency department of the nephrology department today. He has handled many similar cases and must be more qualified than me. Looking up again, my face was calm. Saving people is my job, and I can't shirk it. However, judging from the medical record, I'm afraid the patient already has severe kidney failure. We should find a kidney source as soon as possible. If we miss the best opportunity, I'm afraid even the gods can't save him. The nurse saw that I had a serious expression and immediately nodded and ran away. She was probably going to find Dr. Li. As soon as I let out a sigh of relief, my phone rang urgently. I paused for a moment and still answered it. "Xiao Xiao, I heard that Qingyan was admitted to the hospital. Do you know about this?" On the other end of the phone was my mother's anxious voice. "I'm a doctor in the emergency department of the provincial hospital, and my mother thought of me immediately." Hearing her care about Song Qingyan, I lowered my eyelashes. No wonder, my mother never knew that Song Qingyan had a white moonlight. She always regarded him as a prospective son-in-law. She even joked that she had arranged a baby marriage for us since we were young. Even so, my mother still treated him sincerely. However, Song Qingyan was an ungrateful person. He not only threw my mother into a nursing home but also prevented me from seeing her for the last time. Thinking that nothing had happened yet and everything could be redeemed, I calmed down. "Mom, I don't know about this. I'm not on duty tonight. I heard that he went out to play with his friends. There should be someone taking care of him around him. It's so late today, you should go to bed early first." I promise you that I will go and see him first thing tomorrow morning, with my repeated reassurances. My mother finally hung up the phone with peace of mind. I immediately switched to the travel app and looked at the nearest flights to the island. I booked the earliest plane ticket and hotel and sent a message to the director asking for leave. Director, you said last time that you would give me a good vacation. I have submitted my leave application. Please approve it for me. The director didn't seem to have rested yet and immediately replied to me, Little Shen, I've received it, this time. You can take a good vacation and don't rush back. After packing my things, the lights in the emergency department still seemed to be on. Lying inside was Song Qingyan, the person who hated me for 30 years in my previous life, and this time, I chose to respect other people's fates. His life no longer required me to sacrifice myself. I really wanted to see how he could survive. 2. The plane landed the next day, and when I turned on my phone, there were countless messages. The previous day. I packed my luggage overnight and had a good sleep on the plane. In my previous life, I was driven to a mental breakdown by Song Qingyan and had trouble falling asleep. This was the first time I had a good sleep. There were many calls from Song Qingyan on my phone, as well as voice messages he sent me. Xiao, I had food poisoning and am in the hospital where you work. Can you come and see me? I know you're the most famous nephrology doctor. You will definitely be able to help me find a kidney source and save me, right? I had never seen Song Qingyan like this before. He was arrogant and never bowed his head to ask for help when encountering things. Even in my previous life, after having my kidney source, he agreed to marry me with a smile. He never bowed his head to me because I saved him. In the face of death, life is as insignificant as dust. I didn't reply to him and reported my safety to my mother. By the way, I mentioned that when I went to see Song Qingyan, he was in a coma, so I didn't see him, but my mother, not only because of our long-standing friendship but also because of my ineffable feelings for Song Qingyan, treated Song Qingyan's matter personally. She even treated him like a biological son. Thinking of this, I said softly, Mom, since I was a child, I have only regarded Song Qingyan as an ordinary older brother and have no other feelings. Moreover, he already has someone he likes. And we shouldn't disturb him. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the phone, and I heard my mother's relieved response, Mom just wants you to be happy, everything else doesn't matter. My heart felt sour, and tears couldn't help but well up in my eyes. I let out an and hung up the phone. In my previous life, when my mother found out that I had donated a kidney, she was so angry that she had a heart attack and fell ill. She never expected that I would go to such lengths for Song Qingyan, but the matter had already happened. And there was no room for redemption. My mother could only accept this fact. In this life, I will no longer risk my life for Song Qingyan. Even though I sent Song Qingyan a message saying that I was not in the hospital, his call came immediately. There was noise, scolding, and crying on the other end. It immediately made me think of Su Jiao. Seeing that the call was connected, Song Qingyan could hardly hide his anxiety and immediately asked, Xiao, where are you? I'm on a business trip in another city. What's the matter? I replied casually and put away my luggage in the hotel. Seeing that I had no desire to communicate with him at all, Song Qingyan was silent for a long time. In the past, as soon as I answered his call, I couldn't wait to share my daily life with him. I would even take time out of my busy work to make soup for him. Song Qingyan had a poor stomach and couldn't eat when he had a stomachache if he wasn't taken care of properly. When I knew about this problem in school, I stayed up all night to study recipes. It was only after marriage that I found out that a lot of the things I made ended up in Su Jiao's stomach. Su Jiao was a poor student in our class. She wore a washed-out white shirt. She had just transferred not long ago but captured Song Qingyan's heart. Even when I saw his eyes being attracted to her, I was powerless. I was even caught by her taking the soup I had made with my own hands. And Song Qingyan didn't care at all. I won't walk with you anymore in the future. She can't keep up with the class progress, and I have to tutor her. Can you stop targeting her? You must have done all these things. Is it necessary? Shen Yunxiao, you really surprise me. But all of this was Su Jiao's self-directed and self-acted drama. Looking at her provocative eyes, I bit my lips tightly. I could only lower my head and explain to Song Qingyan, but Song Qingyan was unmoved. And even a mocking smile curled up on his lips. Shen Yunxiao, you're really disgusting. Finally, I could only watch the two of them leave together, leaning on each other. After waiting for a while, I finally got annoyed. My face was calm as I got closer to the microphone. If there's nothing else, I'll hang up. Wait, Song Qingyan suddenly gasped for breath on the other end of the phone. I heard his words full of anticipation. Xiao. When will you come back? I want to see you. I pursed my lips and smiled, but my voice was cold. Then just keep thinking about it. Even though Song Qingyan apologized to me for his previous slip of the tongue, he would never say such things to me for no reason. He must have his own calculations. 3. I was lying on a beach chair, feeling the gentle sea breeze. In front of me was the vast sea and a group of seagulls ready to take off. This was a place I had never been to in my previous life. The vacation I should have had was completely delayed by Song Qingyan's illness. I even had to go to the hospital for consultations every rest day. In the end, I had never seen the sea in my dreams, but in a moment's post, Song Qingyan, who should have been in the hospital for an examination, posted a photo of this place. Beside him was Su Jiao in a white sundress. The two of them were tightly hugging each other, acting like a couple, and the caption of the picture was, "Accompanied you to the sea you like, even though I didn't marry you in the end, I will always protect you." But just the day before, I also wanted Song Qingyan to accompany me to see the sea, and he looked impatient and even threatened me with not taking his medicine. What's so good about that dirty place? Taking good care of me is your task. Until I died, I had never been there once. I suppressed the strange emotions in my heart and booked a ticket for my mother as well, to let her stay away from what would happen in the future. It had been a week when I returned to the hospital again. It was Dr. Li who took over Song Qingyan's condition. When handing over the condition, he sighed. The little nurse beside him immediately reacted and said, "Dr. Shen, you have to stay away from the family members later. They're not easy to deal with." I raised my eyebrows and saw Aunt Song standing at the door of the ward. Aunt Song was Song Qingyan's mother. She brought him up alone. Because of such a life, she had a strong personality. She also wanted to take full control of Song Qingyan's life, and my mother also had a close relationship with her. That's why they arranged a baby marriage for us when we were young. Originally, I thought that I would marry Song Qingyan as expected and finally have a happy family, but I didn't expect that Su Jiao was the only variable. The two had different identities and were not well matched, which made Aunt Song unhappy. Moreover, Su Jiao had a leech-like family. Even though Song Qingyan treated me badly, Aunt Song was not at fault. I took 2 steps forward to say hello but accidentally saw another person lying on the bed next to Song Qingyan. Su Jiao was wearing a hospital gown. She tried to drill into Song Qingyan's arms regardless of the tubes on her body. This sight was really eye-opening. When Aunt Song saw me coming, her originally furrowed brows also relaxed. "Xiao. You're back from your business trip." I nodded with a smile and didn't respond. Pushing open the door, the two of them looked like they had been interrupted and quickly separated, but they pulled on the wounds on their bodies. Suddenly, Su Jia's eyes were wet, as if she was about to cry, but when she saw Aunt Song, she just turned her face away and stopped talking, and Song Qingyan beside her had a firm look in his eyes and protected Su Jiao. "Mom, you're not allowed to be fierce to Jiao. Her body hasn't recovered yet. Moreover, she's the one who saved my life. We'll get married as soon as we're discharged from the hospital." Hearing these words, I, who was watching the show aside, was also stunned. Although Song Qingyan was still very weak, his face was ruddy. It was completely different from his appearance in my previous life. If he didn't have a matching kidney source at that time, he probably wouldn't have been rescued. But now, there was a beating kidney in his body. Combined with Su Jiao's shy expression, I could guess, it was Su Jiao who donated a kidney to Song Qingyan. I didn't expect that what she did was contrary to her innocent appearance. When Aunt Song heard these words, the anger that she had originally suppressed flared up again. She pointed at Su Jiao and said angrily, "If it wasn't for her insisting on taking you camping and having a picnic and even bringing you expired meat to eat, how could such a thing have happened? You don't even listen to your mother's words anymore. You've been bewitched by this woman. She did save you, but if it wasn't for her, how could you have been in danger?" I didn't comment and took the opportunity to look at the machines twice. I took out a pen and ticked on the notebook. In my previous life, I was the one lying here. When Song Qingyan found out, he got extremely angry. He even casually picked up the things placed beside him and threw them at me. "Why is it you? Did you deliberately frame Jiao to make me have food poisoning?" "I'm not sick. The one who's sick is you." Blood flowed down my forehead, and my eyes were filled with a blood-red light. Song Qingyan still didn't seem to be satisfied and shouted at me angrily, "Who do you think you are? How dare you donate a kidney to me? Did you plan all of this? Why are you butting in on things that have nothing to do with you? Where's Jiao? Where did you drive her away to? In the midst of the chaos, Su Jiao pushed open the door of the ward. She was wearing the white dress she wore when she first met Song Qingyan. Her eyes were swollen, and she choked with sobs as if she had already cried. Since she saved you, you should repay her. I'm an outsider and won't appear in front of you anymore in the future. Before Song Qingyan could react, Su Jiao turned around and ran away. The final outcome was that Song Qingyan apologized to me and agreed to marry me. Obviously, the result was what I wanted. I even hurt myself to save him. However, when I saw Song Qingyan looking at me with cold eyes, my heart still felt as if it was being cut by a knife. In this life, he got to marry Su Jiao as he wished. He must be extremely happy in his heart, right? For, when Song Qingyan saw me coming, his expression froze for a moment. It seemed that I was no longer useful to him, so he turned his head and stopped looking at me. Why are you here? Weren't you on a business trip outside? My face was calm as I stepped forward to carefully check the instruments. You're overthinking. I just came to take a look at the situation. When Su Jiao saw me, her face took on a different expression, and the corners of her mouth turned up slightly. Yunxiao, long time no see. I didn't expect you to be just an intern nurse here. It seems you're not doing so well. Her tone was sharp and full of sarcasm. If you hadn't chosen to target me and fight with me for Qingyan back then, maybe I would have given you a hand. As soon as she finished speaking, Aunt Song slapped her neatly. The sound of the slap was clear. It landed on Su Jiao's face, making it swollen and extremely comical. Su Jiao seemed not to have reacted yet. She immediately covered her face with her hand, and tears instantly fell. Aunt Song sneered and retorted, "What a petty attitude. Xiao is the top doctor in the emergency department. What identity do you have to speak? Not to mention that you haven't married into our family yet. Xiao is like a daughter to me, and I won't allow you to slander her." Song Qingyan beside her wanted to say something but was glared back by Aunt Song. The atmosphere was awkward. I bent down and got close to Su Jiao's ear, tucking her loose hair behind her ear. My hand gently stroked her cheek, and I smiled innocently. There are so many people here. I won't hit you. If I find out that you're spreading rumors about me next time, believe me, you won't want to know what will happen to you. I secretly exerted force and pressed hard on her swollen area, as I wished. I heard her take a sharp breath. By the way, I don't care about you at all. All of this is just my duty. Don't think of yourself as so noble. After speaking, I straightened up and wanted to turn around and leave, but Song Qingyan grabbed my wrist. I turned around and saw Song Qingyan's flushed face. Finally, he asked, "Xiao, why don't you care about me like you used to?" There was a sincere look in Song Qingyan's eyes, not like he was faking it. In a trance, I thought of the him who was very kind to me in the past. Song Qingyan and I were childhood sweethearts and well matched in social status. From childhood to adulthood, he always protected me and gave me all the good things. Even he held my hand and made a solemn wish under the night sky. "Xiao, I will definitely accompany you for a lifetime. If I can't do it, may I die a bad death." I also thought that we would walk through life without any obstacles, but I didn't expect that things would go against our wishes. All my feelings for Song Qingyan had already disappeared completely when he hurt me. Now, when I heard his words, I just found them ridiculous. In my previous life, I was like a fool, trying to win him back and running around him. In the end, I ended up with a tragic death. But now that I don't go around him, he blames me again. Song Qingyan is really greedy. Obviously, he already has Su Jiao by his side, yet he still won't let go. I shook off his hand that was holding me and said indifferently, "We have no relationship. What caring are you talking about? Let's turn the page on the past. After all, I was also at fault. From now on, we'll go our separate ways. There's no need for us to meet after you're discharged from the hospital." After speaking, the nurse outside the door came in to change the medicine. I turned around and left with Aunt Song, but Aunt Song called me to stop. "Xiao, what you just said." I understood her hesitation but just smiled gently. "No matter what happens between him and me, I will always respect you. Since he has made his choice, I don't need to make myself unhappy." Aunt Song was an understanding person and immediately realized the enmity between us. She had been very kind to me since I was a child, and I couldn't take my anger out on her. However, Song Qingyan had done things that hurt me in the past, and I couldn't just let it go. I suppressed the hatred in my heart. Now was not the time. She held my hand. Unable to hide her regret, After being reborn, my love-struck brain has also been cured. 5. When I returned to the office, the intern nurse called me cheerfully, "Dr. Shen, haven't you had lunch yet? Someone brought us meat buns. Come and have two." The meat buns were steaming and exuding a delicious aroma, which was really tempting. I picked one up and casually asked, "Do we have a lot of funds recently? Why did you buy so many?" The intern nurse shook her head and pointed to the ward at the very edge. "It was brought by the family member of that patient, the one with food poisoning. They brought it to thank us." My hand that was about to put the bun in my mouth paused, and I turned to look. "Didn't we say that we're not allowed to accept things from the patient's family members? What did your teaching teacher teach you?" I frowned and stopped talking. It was Song Qingyan's ward. I had just met Aunt Song. And she didn't mention this matter. Then it must have been Su Jiao who brought them, thinking that they had food poisoning from eating spoiled meat. I always felt that something was fishy. I broke open the meat bun and took a tentative bite. Immediately, a spoiled taste filled my mouth. I frowned and spat it out, confirming my guess. The meat filling used in the meat bun had long since spoiled. I called the nurse and asked her to take the meat filling to the 3rd floor for testing. I put away the rest one by one to preserve the evidence. Recalling the gloomy look in Su Jia's eyes when I left just now, I immediately reacted. I'm afraid Song Qingyan's food poisoning was also related to her. Moreover, clearly she went camping and had a picnic with Song Qingyan. Why was she fine when she brought the buns? Recalling that he happily told me that Su Jiao invited him to a picnic. Song Qingyan didn't bring anything, then these ingredients could only have been brought by Su Jiao. There were rumors in school that Su Jiao's family ran a steamed, stuffed bun shop. The store was small and not very hygienic. Only because the prices were cheap did a few people go to buy, but it was soon shut down because of spoiled food. I'm afraid those spoiled meats were related to her. Even, Su Jiao did it on purpose, and now, she wanted to use the same trick again. In my previous life, I didn't know the relationship between all of this and Su Jiao. I only heard a few words about how good Su Jiao was to him during my quarrels with Song Qingyan. I'm afraid Song Qingyan still doesn't know that all of this is probably Su Jiao's calculation. Obviously, the truth is so clear in the eyes of outsiders, but he is deeply trapped in it. However, Su Jiao is too naive. I've never been a person to be trifled with. What's more, she dared to directly run into my muzzle. I dialed the police station's number and said clearly, "I suspect someone has poisoned. The address is at the provincial hospital." After hanging up the phone, the meat bun had gradually cooled down due to the passage of time. The fact that I like to eat buns is not a secret, but actually, I don't really like them. It's just that Song Qingyan had a bad stomach and couldn't eat hard to digest things. That's why I learned how to make them delicious in high school. That's also why I could tell the spoiled taste with just one bite. Now it has become a reason to frame me. I looked at the medical record files of the two people on the table. Su Jiao always seems to be hiding something. I'm afraid she has some unknown secrets, but these things have nothing to do with me anymore. The siren sounded downstairs. I put the medical records on the table and smiled. 6. We received a report here. Please come with us. The police immediately led people into Song Qingyan's ward and pushed open the door without hesitation. Su Jiao looked at the door in a daze and immediately shrank behind Song Qingyan. "Qingyan, I'm scared." When she saw me coming, she immediately shouted, gritting her teeth, "It's you, isn't it? You reported to the police out of jealousy. I just asked my family to send some buns for you to eat. Why did you do this?" I turned my head to look at her and asked innocently, "I haven't even said what the matter is. How did you say it directly?" Su Jiao was stuck for a moment and immediately turned her head away, but escaping couldn't solve the problem. She was suspected of poisoning with meat buns made from spoiled meat filling, which had violated the law. Even though she shouted that she had nothing to do with this matter, she could only go with them. Not to mention that the hospital's machines had already detected toxic components in the meat filling. The result was clear at a glance. Su Jiao looked at Song Qingyan with tears in her eyes, her face as white as a sheet. She probably already knew the consequences. Song Qingyan comforted her softly and then turned to look at me. "Xiao, was it necessary to call the police for this matter? Besides, you didn't eat them either, and it didn't cause you any substantial harm. Jiao is indeed at fault, but don't push her too hard. I think we can just let this matter go." As soon as I heard this, I almost laughed. Song Qingyan never knew right from wrong. I should have known this long ago. I looked at him calmly and retorted, "What identity are you using to say these words? Besides, you also know what it's like to have food poisoning. thinking about going camping and having a picnic with her. Can't you tell what's going on? Su Jiao's face turned paler with every word I said. In the end, she could only collapse on the bed. Song Qingyan should know what had happened when he saw her like this, but he couldn't blame Su Jiao, so he could only look at me with a fake calm. She didn't know about this matter either. We can't blame her. Besides, she saved me. There's a debt of gratitude between us. At this point, I was finally tired. It wasn't that he couldn't tell right from wrong, he was just incredibly stupid. How could I have liked such a person back then? I turned my head and didn't want to listen anymore. Watching the police take Su Jiao away, the prince who couldn't protect his princess looked at me angrily, as if looking at a stranger. Shen Yunxiao, I never knew you were so petty. I think everything in the past was just an act on your part. I can let go of the past, but I didn't expect you to still target Jiao until now. I couldn't listen anymore and slapped him neatly. Sorry, I'm not a doctor now. It's past working hours. I'm not obliged to accept your slander. If you dare to say such things again, the consequences will be beyond your imagination. With the hatred from my previous life, I showed no mercy in this slap. Song Qingyan didn't have time to react and was slapped, but when he saw my cold eyes, he stopped talking. It seemed that some feelings had changed unconsciously. Obviously, our relationship was so close in the past, but what had changed now? He reached out his hand, wanting to hold me back. But now I'm no longer the little girl he could hold back with a wave of his hand. Xiao, I just said the wrong thing. I had already turned around and left, not staying for him. It was almost evening when I came out of the police station. Su Jiao pushed all the blame onto her mother. After all, the surveillance footage showed her mother's figure, and it was impossible to convict Su Jiao directly, and because of the so-called accidental ingestion she mentioned, which led to Song Qingyan's food poisoning. Song Qingyan also forgave her very leniently. When I came out, I saw Song Qingyan, who had chosen to be discharged from the hospital. He glanced at me and went to support Su Jiao, who could hardly stand up. Qingyan, I didn't expect you to come and pick me up. She leaned against Song Qingyan, her face slightly flushed. Song Qingyan silently held Su Jiao. After all, we're going to get married in the future. I don't want you to be sad. I felt a chill and didn't want to watch their affectionate show anymore, but they didn't seem to plan to let me go just like that. Xiao, come to my wedding. The noise in my ears forced me to stop, but thinking about it, since they had been discharged from the hospital, getting married would definitely be put on the agenda soon. No, I have nothing to say to you, I said quietly. As expected, I saw their faces freeze. Song Qingyan forced a smile and wanted to say something, but then he heard my next words, you make me sick. 7. The next day, I received Song Qingyan's wedding invitation. It seemed that they were afraid I would say something, so they put it in the office. I didn't expect them to act so quickly, but thinking about Su Jia's forced appearance, it should be soon. I picked up the invitation. Only the date and the names of the two people were scrawled on it. Even the wedding venue was chosen casually. It was probably Aunt Song's doing. She didn't take Su Jia seriously either. I casually tore up the invitation without caring. The red pieces fell, like a broken heart. In my previous life, my wedding was grand and perfect, except that Song Qingyan had a cold face. I thought he couldn't bear the pain, so I helped him go to rest early. Unexpectedly, he was hugging Su Jiao in the backstage. When I caught them, he just smiled it off, but clearly, I donated a kidney for Song Qingyan. However much pain he had, I had the same amount of pain. The hideous scar on my chest could never be washed away. I had no intention of interfering in their story, but they had to provoke me. Then they couldn't blame me. The wedding arrived as scheduled, and my mother also came back from her vacation. This time we met. Her complexion was obviously better. Even the pent-up anger in her chest had dissipated. My mother didn't care whether Song Qingyan and I could end up together. She only hoped that I would find happiness. On the day of the wedding, my mother and I still attended together, but Song Qingyan and Su Jia's faces were uglier than each other. In the end, we only participated in the wedding for half an hour. I leisurely ate the desserts that Aunt Song had specially prepared for me. When they were exchanging wedding vows, photos suddenly flashed on the big screen behind them. Su Jiao hugging someone else, abusing a kitten, and even bullying others on campus. Like a slideshow, they were shown one by one. Su Jiao was in a panic and finally splashed red wine on the big screen crazily. It's not me, Qingyan, I'm not like this. Su Jiao grabbed his sleeve, trying to explain, but Song Qingyan shook her off fiercely. Then tell me, who is in the photo? The appearance of that little cat was very familiar to Song Qingyan. It was the one he often fed at school. But in the end, it disappeared without a trace, and the white moonlight in his heart turned out to be just a person who bullied others and had no sense of propriety. She was one way in person and another behind people's backs. This was Su Jiao's true nature. In order to make the wedding proceed as scheduled, the two had already obtained their marriage certificate in advance. But they never expected such things to be exposed on the day of the wedding. Aunt Song's face was extremely ugly, and she could no longer maintain her calm. Su Jiao turned her head around, and it seemed that when she saw me, she wanted to rush towards me, but she was tripped by the complicated wedding dress. You did this, didn't you? I've long known that you, Shen Yunxiao, are not a good person, but why did you have to ruin my wedding? Su Jiao wanted to pounce on me like a madwoman. I picked up the wine glass beside me and splashed the red wine over. Are you sober now? I asked and picked up the wet wipe on the table to dry my hands. Su Jiao's eyes were blurred, and she wanted to hold Aunt Song, but Aunt Song's expression was unreadable, and she shook off her hand forcefully. Mom, don't call me Mom, I don't have a daughter-in-law like you. Song Qingyan looked unhappy and just said in a low voice, we're already married, anyway, Mom, you should accept it. Aunt Song looked shocked, as if she couldn't believe it, and asked, she's an unfaithful woman. Song Qingyan, are you blind? Are you trying to kill me? After speaking, Aunt Song didn't care anymore. She took 2 deep breaths and turned around to leave. Song Qingyan wanted to chase after her but was stopped by a little boy. Give me all your family's money. My mom told me everything. Su Jiao looked embarrassed and wanted to squat down to coax the little boy, but he pushed her down with a shove. Don't touch me, ugly woman. As expected, this was Su Jiao's younger brother. Because of her mother being in the police station, no one was taking care of him, but no one expected him to run out today. Now, any guest present could understand. Su Jiao married him just for Song Qingyan's money, whether on campus or now, it had never changed, and her younger brother had long been instilled with this idea. Although Song Qingyan was not from a prominent family, he still had a place in the city, but today, he lost all his face, coincidentally. Su Jiao had calculated it well and donated a kidney to him, so, he couldn't refuse either. A debt of gratitude was the hardest to repay. Having watched enough of the show, I saw my mother's unbearable look, but when I thought about how Song Qingyan treated her in the previous life, I suppressed this emotion. Mom, let's go. In the midst of the chaos, the wedding ended hastily. 8. After this incident, many people cut off their contact with the Song family. Having such a cooperation partner was not satisfactory in the eyes of outsiders. Even Aunt Song was moody during this period. She often quarreled with Su Jiao because Su Jiao made mistakes. On the other hand, Song Qingyan also couldn't get over the photos at the wedding. Even before each quarrel, Su Jiao would vaguely mention the kidney in Song Qingyan's body. The feeling of being morally blackmailed that Song Qingyan accused me of in the previous life. It was time for him to taste it. This was his own sin, and he couldn't blame others. A week later, Aunt Song invited me to her home for a meal. I didn't want to bother with them and wanted to decline politely, but I saw the dark circles under Aunt Song's eyes, both emotionally and rationally. I still agreed. When I saw Song Qingyan again, he was much weaker, completely different from the way he looked at the wedding. I didn't say much and casually mentioned Su Jiao. Aunt Song snorted and sneered. The day after the wedding, she wanted to use the Song family's money to buy a house for them. She even wanted to split half of the Song family's property because of donating a kidney. These 2 days, she said she was not feeling well and went to the hospital. I didn't comment. I didn't expect Su Jiao to act so quickly. She had even thought about the inheritance division. If there had been no episode at the wedding, she might have succeeded. Unfortunately, I made Aunt Song see her true face. All of this was to make her face the reality. I changed the subject and replied with a smile. Auntie, if you're in a bad mood, you can go out for a walk. If you hurt your body because of such things, it won't be worth it. Song Qingyan seemed to be paying attention here. He heard Aunt Song sigh and say, if only Xiao Xiao were my daughter-in-law. I shook my head and refused, saying calmly, things have come to this, Auntie should accept it. After all, this is the person Song Qingyan personally chose. If you really want to break up this couple in love, I'm afraid he won't be willing. Before Song Qingyan saw me off, he hesitated for a long time and then said, Xiao Xiao, do you still like me? My heart was icy cold. I didn't know why he asked such a question. In the past, Song Qingyan turned a blind eye to everything, but now, he brought up the old things. You're joking. I've never liked you, impossible. Clearly, you were willing to make soup for me, make recipes to take care of my stomach, and wait for me to go home together every day. Even I once made a vow to you." Song Qingyan spoke slowly, as if he was very familiar with these things. He saw all of this, but in the previous life, he pretended not to understand and chased after Su Jiao. He even imagined that I poisoned him and stabbed me to death. Xiao, I was wrong, I shouldn't have believed Su Jiao. Will you forgive me?" Song Qingyan choked up, and his eyes turned red for no reason. In the past, I would definitely feel sorry for him and immediately agree to his words, but now, the Shen Yunxiao who really loved him had long died in the past. He no longer had the right. "You're already married, don't make me dislike you." I didn't say anything more but bumped into Su Jiao who had just come back. I saw clearly a knife that suddenly rushed towards me and the flash of murderous intent in Su Jiao's eyes. At the last moment, Song Qingyan pushed me away, but he took the fatal blow for me. 9. Song Qingyan suddenly vomited a mouthful of blood, realizing what she had done. Su Jiao let go of her hand, the scalpel fell to the ground, and Su Jiao shrank in the corner, covering her ears desperately. "It's not me. It's not me." When Aunt Song heard the commotion and saw this scene, in a fit of anger, Aunt Song rushed over and started fighting with Su Jiao. I immediately called the police and told them to get in the car and go to the hospital without delaying the condition. Song Qingyan beside me had already fallen into a coma. The knife was thrown on the ground, lonely and stained with blood. In the emergency department, Song Qingyan was pushed in, and Su Jiao was taken away by the police for intentional injury. Aunt Song couldn't hide her crying. She didn't know why things had turned out like this. When the intern nurse saw me, she handed me the secondary medical record. Although the newly transplanted kidney source for the patient has been matched, the kidney source has been diagnosed with severe uremia. Now, there's nothing we can do. Hearing this, I suddenly remembered the medical record that Su Jiao had blurred. She had latent uremia, but she donated this kidney to Song Qingyan. In the end, Su Jiao wanted to die with Song Qingyan. I wasn't wrong about that flash of cold light just now. Song Qingyan's body could no longer withstand another kidney transplant, and Su Jiao clearly knew this. That knife just now was only a few centimeters away from the heart, extremely dangerous. I had long known that Su Jiao had bad intentions. I had already made preparations in advance. But I didn't expect Song Qingyan to rush over and block the knife for me. I lowered my eyes, not knowing what was on my mind. In the end, it could be considered one knife for another. After Aunt Song learned the truth, she was relieved. All of this is Qingyan's retribution. She stayed in the ward quietly for one night and packed her luggage the next day. She chose to go to the countryside to live for a while. Although Song Qingyan wouldn't die suddenly, he was now like a walking corpse. Looking at him lying on the hospital bed, I only felt a sense of déjà vu. His figure overlapped with that in the previous life and merged into one. When he was awake, Song Qingyan suddenly asked me, "Were the photos at the wedding done by you?" "Yes," I admitted it frankly, looking at his eyes as if he had expected it. If it weren't for Su Jiao, Song Qingyan was actually very smart. Since Su Jiao dared to do such a thing, she should know that she had to bear the consequences. Every move and every choice of hers would affect her life. I had no intention of continuing to talk to Song Qingyan. After opening the window, I wanted to leave the ward, but I heard an apology that dissipated in the wind. He said, "Xiao, I'm sorry, I had waited too long for this apology, so much so that it no longer mattered." 10. I went to the police station again. Su Jiao was criminally detained for attempted murder. She also confessed to the previous food poisoning. Su Jiao's face was as white as a sheet, but her cheeks were abnormally red. "Shen Yunxiao, you bitch, you actually dare to appear in front of me again. If it weren't for you, I would have been happy for a lifetime. I would have been with Qingyan well." She choked up and looked at me with a fierce gaze. "What are you doing here again?" I shrugged and my face was calm. "You look really confounded in this state." It was not until I saw Song Qingyan that I realized that it was his white moonlight from me, and she just laughed crazily, with tears falling down her cheeks. "I've been targeting you all along." I didn't expect that stupid Song Qingyan still believed me. Even when he finally married me, he called out your name. "Since that's the case, then let's die together." Su Jiao coughed and finally spat out a mouthful of blood. Looking at her unconscious appearance, I only felt it was ironic. After calculating for a lifetime, this was the result, because of intentional injury. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison. For her subsequent reflection, she could only spend it painfully here. I'm afraid this was her final ending. when I saw Song Qingyan for the last time, he was so thin that he was just skin and bones. He didn't show any of the high-spirited look he had in the past. Because of uremia, it was difficult for him to speak. When he saw me, a brief light flashed in his eyes. And then he fainted again. Since that injury, Song Qingyan's spirit had also deteriorated. Even other diseases on his body came one after another. He wouldn't live long and wouldn't be conscious for long either. He didn't even see Aunt Song for the last time. In the days when only the nurse accompanied him, Song Qingyan just regretfully repeated the past. After all, he was no longer sober. 11. Coming out of the hospital, the sun outside was dazzling. Seeing Song Qingyan for the last time was the utmost kindness I could show. The rest of the things had nothing to do with me anymore. In the future life, I wouldn't be stuck in memories and unable to extricate myself. Outside was a new beginning and new scenery. I had always been on the road, never looking back.